I look in the mirror and barely know myself. Lines growing clearer. I think I need some help. I swear. I'm going out my head. Feels like the world is falling. I'm going out my head. Destiny is short enough calling. I look at the wall, but I can't tell the time. A child of the fall. I need some grand design. I look to the sky and pray to the great unseen. I don't wanna die. I wanna live as sure as I believe. I swear. I'm going out my head. Feels like the world is falling. I'm going out my head. Destiny is short enough calling. I'm going out my head. Feels like the world is falling. I'm going out my head. Can't you hear the Savior calling?
Gloria Patri, et Filio, et Spiritui Sancto. Sicut erat in principio, et nunc et semper, et in saecula saeculorum. Amen. I swear.
Going out my head. Feels like the world is falling. I'm going out my head. Destiny is short enough calling. I'm going out my head. I'm going out my head. Feels like the world is falling. I'm going out my head. Can't you hear the Savior calling?
thoughts and views on News Talk 93.1 FM. To join the conversation, call 272-9228.
Joey Clark.
Welcome into the program. I'm your host, Joey Clark. Thank God for another beautiful day. Hopefully it'll be a beautiful, good, and true show. And Montgomery needs a new mayor. I had people yesterday saying, we voting on mayor today? I'm like, no, that's next year, I think. But big night for Trump-backed candidates, not only across the nation, but definitely here in the great state of Alabama. Plenty to talk about here about what happened in the primaries last night, the result-wise, and joining us to do that, we have Jeff Poor, host of The Jeff Poor Show, and, of course, he's editor-in-chief at 1819news.com. Jeff, how you doing?
Doing well. Thanks for having me on.
So what's your main, if you had to write the story of the entire night, your main takeaway, including nationwide, what's your main thought on this?
The Trump momentum continues. I think the Trump candidates outperformed their expectations. The Massie result obviously was, I expected that to be closer, but if we're going to look at Alabama, I think Barrymore and John Wahl performed slightly better than the polling showed than we had expected them to. I know that just kind of having some conversations early on this, morning was Trump guys feel a little underwhelmed by the outcome, but they had a sense of where the race was at this point, and that Barrymore always underpolls, but he looks pretty decent right now. I think Hudson's a force to be reckoned with, but more on that in a while. But the Trump momentum continues from Louisiana, it continues from Indiana, and he continues to be the kingmaker.
Yeah, and that Massie win, the amount of money spent there, we were talking a little bit on your show, It just seems like if Fox News puts essentially an embargo on you where you can't talk to Fox News viewers at all, and then all that money is spent against you, it's kind of hard to win a congressional race.
No, it's the Fox Newsification of our politics. We saw it here in Alabama to some degree. I think it's, two different phenomenons perhaps. Just being a big media market like Cincinnati, and then parts of Louisville, that's tough. That's a tough congressional district to compete in if somebody's going to come in and really just kind of open up the floodgates with the resources and the popularity. But you look at your average suburbanite, they're watching Sean Hannity. They're watching Laura Ingraham. I mean, that's what kind of is the basis for their civic engagement. And I just think the way Fox is these days is so on board with Trump, very loyal to Trump, that someone like Thomas Massie was going to have a tough go at it. But I think that's true kind of on further down the line in Alabama, in some places where you have a big suburban presence that, like I said, that their conservatism is established by what they watch nightly on the Fox News channel, that you're going to get some of the kind of establishment types upset. And that was true in my neck of the woods, a couple of races. But that's sort of the national dynamic right now.
Now, with Barrymore getting to the runoff clearly, and I did get a kick out of, I think Barry put out there, we're in the same position Katie Britt was, same percentage-wise in 2022. That made me smile. And is it assumed now that it's going to be Jared Hudson? Has it actually been decided yet?
I mean, that seems to be the indicator. I don't think anybody's formally declared that they won, but it was 5,000 votes separating the two. And at this stage with, 97% recording, 5,000 votes is a lot to make up. So it may not be officially official, but it does seem like Jared Hudson's going to be the second place in the runoff.
Yeah, I talked to Jared Hudson a lot this cycle. I only thought he got better with time on just being able to do an interview, get his points across, his point of view across, and just get to know him. But do you think he has a shot in this runoff?
Well, there's a path, and for Jared Hudson to win, I think the path is as such that it's going to be a low turnout race on June 16th. It just is. It always is. Runoffs tend to have lower turnout. Where Jared Hudson's going to have a built-in advantage. If you look at the map, go county by county, and I encourage everybody to do this. Barrymore had the top-to-bottom, more complete campaign statewide. He did obviously dominated in his home territories in the Wiregrass. He did surprisingly well in the Shoals. Not a Shoals guy, but did really well up there. But where does it matter? That Birmingham DMA, it was just Hudson's dominance. In Jefferson County, Shelby County, St. Clair County, did really well. Tuscaloosa County, right in that Birmingham media market, ABC 3340, all the channels there. We grew up CBS 42. He just did really well, and that's where he put all of his marbles. And you look at a low turnout runoff, and you have a very localized, centralized support base. Moore's got to campaign the entire state. Hudson could really, if he could just somehow maintain 75% of his vote that he got statewide, and just really drive up the turnout as much as he can in the Birmingham DMA, he's got a puncher's chance at unseating the Trump-endorsed candidate.
And I think from both sides of this, a lot of money about to be spent, even more money, including outside PAC money.
I would think so. I think Club for Growth is, Barrymore is in some ways too big to fail. Trump doesn't want to take an L. Trump-aligned forces will come on for Barrymore. Club for Growth already showed they're willing to go to bat for Barrymore. You saw the Marshall attack ad. You saw what I thought was a well-done ad showing that Barrymore was the Trump guy. I think that's important. I think those are the things that Barrymore does, that he will win on June 16th. But some things got to happen for Hudson to win, but it's not out of the realm of possibilities.
Now, I have to ask you about that ghost primary there with the Alabama primary in AL1. Jerry Carl topped Rhett Marques by 9%. Of course, Marques is going to be Rhett. I've never met the man. I suppose I will. Hopefully I will. He's going to be running up here in the old school District 2. What is this? What do you take anything away from this result of Jerry Carl pretty handily winning this?
I don't know if it was handily. It's probably about as expected. 9 points is a decent margin, just given what Jerry Carl was up against. But this is another one of these political geography lessons. You look at the map, Rhett Marques, everything east of Covington County. That's Wiregrass, that's Dothan, Enterprise, Geneva County, Henry, Dale County, Ozark. He dominated. But everything on the other side of Covington County, everything west of Andalusia, Jerry Carl dominated. It's just more votes in Baldwin, Mobile counties than there are in the other parts. And that, to me, was the difference. It's funny because you look at Covington County, I think Rhett Marques topped Carl by 18 votes, and that's the dead center of that district. So to me, you look at everything in that sort of southern, along the Florida Panhandle border there, and you can really draw a straight line through the middle, and one side was the AL2 and the other side was AL1. The one takeaway, Marques did all right in Baldwin County, but I think they had expected that Katie Britt endorsement and the Katie Britt fundraising. And look, Rhett Marques was running in Baldwin County as the guy who graduated from Fairhope High. He was one of us. They were trying to brand him as such. He did all right in Baldwin County, but he still got beat by Jerry Carl.
And I'm trying to envision this District 2 that'll be in the special election. It sounds like Marques has a pretty built-in advantage if you're thinking of the Wiregrass and it started including parts of Montgomery, parts of, say, Elmore and whatnot. It sounds like he's and we'll see if anybody will jump into challenge. I mean, he's got the advantage because he's got this campaign spun up. He's got that endorsement from Senator Britt. Seems like plenty of money. And if he did very well in sort of the traditional districts, if they had actually been drawn the way they used to, it sounds like he's pretty strong here.
I would be a little worried about a Montgomery candidate getting in a race, but overcoming a Montgomery candidate is probably a lot easier than overcoming a Mobile candidate in the new AL2. Now, Autauga County remains in AL6, the Palmer District. Elmore County split in half, but I think most of the Elmore County population stays in AL2. It's not the same AL2 that Barry Moore had been winning in for the last few cycles. But that would be my concern if I'm the Marques guys. I'm holding my breath. I don't know who it would be. You and I have mentioned Dick Brubaker, but I don't know that he's interested.
He called me yesterday and said nobody believes that that's a threat. I think he's done with trying to run for office.
Yeah, I don't know who else would be interested in that, and that to me is the only threat to Rhett Marques right now, because I don't think there's anybody in the Wiregrass that can hold a candle to him. He just has that head start that these other candidates wouldn't have.
And for the special, are we now in that qualifying window, that short window?
Yes, and we have 3 days. It opened up this morning at 9 a.m., closes at Friday at 5 p.m. 3 candidates, last I checked, Jerry Carl and Austin Sidwell qualified for AL1, and Hampton Harris, who was originally running in AL2, qualified for AL2, and I anticipate that list will continue to grow.
Now, one we didn't talk about on your show that I want to check in on, because one of the themes of the night is you take a shot at the king you better not miss, and Massie definitely found out, but let's bring it given to a smaller kingdom. And I'm looking at the headline: Alicia Escott Lumpkin defeats 4-term incumbent Juandalynn Givan in her Dem primary. And Givan of late was real over the top, especially after the redistricting stuff. Pretty nasty things said about Clarence Thomas, but it's sort of par for the course. That said, is this an effect of challenging Randall Woodfin?
It's a combo of things. Probably primarily Randall Woodfin, but remember she ran against him for mayor and got clobbered, and she just didn't have the political strength that maybe some of her antics she expected to get out of that. But she also had kind of the business community. The BCA endorsed Lumpkin. They just wanted a more establishment-y person as far as Democrat establishment goes. Juandalynn Givan's a wild card. You don't know what's going to happen there. And I think the powers that be, in concert with the Woodfin administration and other Birmingham sort of political leaders, wanted her out of office.
And I don't know, I'm just trying to look ahead of who's going to be a power broker in Democratic politics here in Alabama, because things will change. And right now, Woodfin looks like he has the better accomplishment list, let's say, with his own city, even where you can criticize it. And, bigger media market, as we were talking about with Jared Hudson, being more north of the state. I don't know. It's interesting watching Woodfin do what he's doing, being mayor of Birmingham.
It is, and, I wonder about this. What if Woodfin were to ever run against Terry Sewell? The way that district, and it could be drawn in a way, or it is drawn in a way that gives Birmingham more clout. She is not a Birmingham person. She actually lives in Hoover, but she grew up in Selma. She's not necessarily, generational Birmingham. She's generational Selma, who moved to Hoover when she took a job with a law firm up there. It just happens to live in the 7th Congressional District and has, done pretty well election-wise with that district. But when the courts came in and drew the new map, they drew her the perfect map. They drew her the parts of Birmingham she succeeded in. They gave her Perry County and they gave her Dallas County, which were always places she could run up votes. And kind of took the Birmingham aspect out of it, but that's changed. But Woodfin continues to be the lead political figure in Democratic Party politics, at least around Birmingham.
Yeah, and we'll see. It's just, like I said, interesting to watch. And now let's real quick handicap the two other runoffs. Of course, John Wahl, Wes Allen running for lieutenant governor. Wahl did quite well in that vote from last night, but do you think that's actually going to be a competitive race?
I do. As competitive as it can be. I think a lot of these votes that go for Wahl or Allen break for Wahl. I think Wahl becomes a phenomenon too big to fail, that Trump doesn't want his endorsed candidates to lose. And it's just, I don't like Wes Allen's campaign. I never have. it's too guarded. He's not a very outgoing, good stump speech guy. He is like AI generated politician in some, capacity. And I just think he's getting bad political advice. I've always thought that he's got, but he's got a ceiling. He's got a low ceiling, and it's not 50%. It's below 50%. It's been that way. He's been running for 2 years. I think that's what is going to keep him from being lieutenant governor.
Yeah, and it's interesting seeing Steve Marshall in his statewide position as AG and Wes Allen as Secretary of State. This doesn't necessarily translate into wider success. It's interesting how people, that sort of old conventional wisdom that if you've already been voted for statewide, you got this in the bag, just don't screw it up. And looks like that doesn't work out anymore.
No, I agree with that. I think that is sort of an old, but you and I were talking about this morning. We've learned from this election cycle. I don't know what the new playbook is. I don't know what the new conventional wisdom will be, but the old conventional wisdom, it doesn't work anymore. We had too many undecideds late in the race. Some of those undecideds broke a certain way, but the messaging here just isn't reaching voters. The things that people do, the things that they've done for decades don't work anymore. It's a different culture. Some people consume media differently. You've got to figure out how to get in touch with those voters directly. And I don't think, the gold standard used to be who can be up on TV. I just don't think that's the key anymore.
And then, of course, the other runoff race will be between Catherine Robertson and Jay Mitchell for the AG slot. How do you think that one's going to shake out?
Catherine got a big boost at the end. Mitchell, I thought, closed it a little bit the last couple of days. I thought Pam Casey would have performed slightly better than she did, but I was still kind of a believer in the Mitchell-Robertson runoff. It still feels like Robertson's race to lose.
Yeah.
Unless something changes, but I didn't like the Mitchell campaign. It was too cookie cutter out of the box. If you're sitting in Alexandria, Virginia, and you're like, hey, you got to win a Republican statewide primary in Alabama. How do you do it? Well, send me the stats. And they looked at them and they just engineered something that kind of just didn't hit right.
Yeah, and also I believe there's not yet been a Trump endorsement in that race. So if a Trump endorsement is forthcoming, that can make a huge difference.
Yeah, but will there be, why would he? The question you would have to ask, what does Trump gain by endorsing in that race? And I don't see that. It's too close, too risky. I don't think he would risk taking an L.
Yeah, and it's, by the way, I voted yes on both amendments. And Eddie voted no on the changing of DA salaries in the middle of their term. But how did you vote on those amendments?
I voted yes. It seemed reasonable not to decrease the DA salary, randomly. So whatever, The other one, criminal justice, that seemed reasonable too. So, not one at the top of my priorities or cares of the day, but I gave them both affirmatives. Yeah,
likewise. And, Eddie seemed to like the idea of political influence of a DA's pissing you off. But I'm like, come on, man, we got too much of that in this state. Anyway, really appreciate the time. And if folks want to check out what you're writing about, think about what you're up to, how can they do so?
1819news.com, 1819 News, obviously, but if you want to follow me, x.com/Jeff_Poor.
Appreciate it, Jeff. Talk again soon. Again, folks, Jeff Poor. Always appreciate his time. 272-9228 if you want to get in on the conversation and, have anything you want to talk about in terms of the results from last night. But I'm looking here at a headline. I'm getting back in the SEC. Coach Tuberville, talk about handily. He did handily win the GOP nomination for governor. Was able to stave off a residency challenge from Ken McFeeters the day before. Alabama's senior U.S. Senator was named the winner of the GOP primary with 86.3% of the vote. Dadgum. With only, that was with only 11% of the votes reporting. But, Tuberville just had a great night. Very strong. We have so much opportunity in the state. Tuberville told a crowd of about 1,000 folks at Vulcan Park and Museum, which I think is a great venue to have an event like this, adding that he would form a group of people to gauge how to make Alabama better. First of all, I'm going to bring up that we have to put God back in our country. We have to put God back in our families, which was an applause line, folks. we have to do the things that are basic. It's like blocking and tackling. You have to do the basic things, build our families back, build a strong military, build a strong law enforcement. That is one thing that makes me mad. How can you believe that you can defund our law enforcement? Well, that's what I'm running against. We have to start teaching our kids knowledge instead of indoctrination. This DEI nonsense, this critical race theory has got to go, and I'm not going to take no for an answer. We're going to have a strong legislative group. After tonight, we'll have a group that will come back and start next January, and we're going to put everything in perspective of making it better. We can do it. People want to move to the South, and they're going to pick. I'm getting back to the SEC. Tuberville also said he was looking forward to running against the Democrat ideology, which he said was so bad. I'm running against socialism and communism. I'm running against people who believe in killing the unborn. I'm running against, my God, folks, I'm running against people that I don't know if they believe in God anymore. I'm running against people that want to tear down our military. I'm running against people that absolutely want to change this country and write everybody a check and say, everything is going to be great, but who's going to work and who's going to make the money? That's who they are now. I'm running against people that believe that men can play in women's sports. I just can't fathom that. I'm running against an ideology that is so bad, that is so far left, that has nothing to do with the last 250 years that this country has been great. It's going to be fun to run against because they have nothing positive to say. We're going to talk about how great this country is and how much greater we can make it and how much greater we can make Alabama. So, yeah, Tuberville essentially saying outright, I'm not just going to directly run against Doe Jones. I'm running against the crazy Democrats, and I think he's going to take that all the way to the bank. Let's go to line one. You're on there. Who's this?
This is Richard.
Hey, what's up?
Well, I've been listening to all the minutia going on about this election, and I'm wondering, do we have more phony amendments on there now again?
Yeah. You still sticking to your theory that's that particular section rules other sections?
Well, of course, man. You know, the title of the article, which I think is, if I remember, is Article 16. The title of the article is a singular word. It's mode, not modes. There's not two different ways. There's just one. And the whole article applies. You can't just be willy-nilly slapping amendments up on the ballot every single election. That's insane. That's like Guatemala or El Salvador or some third world country where you can't depend on the government staying the same from one year to the next.
So
that's what's going on. Huh?
So a vote of the people you don't think we should change things with statewide votes?
No, I didn't say that. I said you cannot amend our Constitution without getting permission to do it first. They just willy-nilly write it up, throw it up on the ballot, and they go, oh, that's an amendment. No, it ain't.
Yeah, but how is everybody voting on it yesterday not given permission?
Huh?
How was everybody voting on it yesterday not given permission?
Because there's a four-step process. They have to put the word convention or no convention, it's a question, to the electors before they can bother to write an amendment. They can't just write it whenever they feel like it. They got to get permission from the people to write it. And then the people look at what they did write and either approve it or don't approve it in another election. Can't you read?
Yeah, but I think what's the section you keep pointing to in the Alabama Constitution?
It's Article 16, Section 286.
286 in Article 16. There's also Article, 28 at Sections 284, 285, and 287 that allows essentially for legislative introduction of amendments, and that's what we've been doing for a while. So I think the one you keep pointing to isn't the only way, but if you...
Yes, there is.
Okay.
There's only one, Joey, you got to read. It's only one way. It's not a plural. The title of the article is not plural.
But why is that article governing of the other articles?
Which article?
The other ones that allow for a legislative process.
There aren't any.
Yeah, there are.
Which one?
284, 285, 287, or Article 28 of the Alabama Constitution.
Article 28.
Yes.
All right, let me tell you what. I'm going to get my Constitution out right now. We're going to find out what you're talking about, boy. Hold on just a minute.
All right.
Article 28.
It's introduced as a bill or joint resolution, either the House or Senate. You got to have 3 readings, then 3/5 vote in both chambers, 60% of all members elected to each house in a single legislative session, and then placement on the ballot after passing both houses. Appears on the ballot the next general or at a special election called by the legislature. Governor's signature is not required.
Article 18, mode of amending the Constitution. That's Article 18.
18, excuse me.
Sorry. Okay, and there's no more articles after that, man. That's the last one. The rest of it is all amendments that are phony.
Okay. So, like, all this stuff, like those 2 that passed yesterday, they're just null and void.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And in 1973, they threw our judicial branch out with the same crap. And the truth is, they did not throw our judicial system out because what they did was unlawful. Therefore, our original judicial system is still in effect. There's just nobody occupying those offices. The whole thing is the state government of Alabama is illegitimate.
Okay.
And they're putting people in the damn gas chamber and putting people in prison and robbing and stealing from us left and right with all their crap they do.
So, but in Article 18, sections 284, 285, and 287 don't allow for amendments to be proposed through the legislative process, 3/5 vote, and then put on the ballot for the people to vote on.
Yeah, but you got to get permission to be doing that first from the people. You can't just write it up and throw it up there and say we're doing it. You got to get permission to do it.
Well, but no, that permission on whether or not to hold a convention is the other way you could amend it, where the legislature could pass a resolution calling for a convention by a simple majority in each vote of the house, and then the voters would have to decide whether or not you could have that convention.
Okay, here's how it works, Joey. Now, you got to pay close attention.
Mm-hmm.
And, all right, here's how it goes. The first step, there's 4 of them. The first step is the legislature passes an act.
Mm-hmm.
And what the act does, it requires the Secretary of State to hold an election. And on the ballot will be a question to the electors. That's step number 2, the election. And it's going to be a question. It's going to say convention or no convention.
Right, but I'm saying that's governing a convention. But there's another part in the Constitution that you can amend it without a convention.
You're not letting me finish.
Well, I don't think you're understanding that the convention section that you're citing is not controlling of the other aspect of how you can amend the Constitution. And if you were right, there'd be a lot of lawyers that could make a crap load of money off your argument.
Now, listen to me. You got to get permission from the people first before you bother to amend. You can't just amend.
And that's what everybody voted on yesterday. That is practically permission. People could have voted no. We had a choice, yes or no.
Joey, you cannot even put it before the people till you get permission from them.
No, you can't hold a convention until you get permission from them.
Okay, now, what's the word convention actually mean? It means a meeting. If they have that Constitution on the table for to be writing amendments to it, that makes it a convention. You understand? If they got
so you're counting a normal legislative session as a convention.
If they got the Constitution on the table for changing it, it is a convention.
I don't think that's true. I don't think a convention and a legislative session is the same thing.
Oh, no, education ain't amounting to a hill of beans, Joey boy.
Okay, man, I think you've just been dying on this hill for how many years now?
A long time.
Right.
Because I read it very carefully. Look, man, I am well educated about all this stuff. Sure. I read Von Mises and all the same books you read.
Yeah.
I'm a libertarian from a long time ago before you ever even thought about it.
Right.
And I'm telling you the truth. And you need to pay attention and stop bucking me.
So I shouldn't just disagree with you because I think you're wrong.
Well, you can think anything you want to.
All right.
But the truth is the truth.
Okay, Rooster.
That's what I'm telling you, man.
Okay.
I ain't your enemy. I'm not your enemy.
No, I know you're not. I know you're not my enemy, but the truth is the truth, and I think the truth is otherwise than what you're saying.
Well, I think all the.
And I'm saying that as your friend and somebody who's listened to me a long time.
Okay, the Constitution that you need to get is prior to all this codification and codifying that they did. because it used to be all the amendments were in the back of the book, and it is a book. There are 1,000 amendments. They used to be in the back of it, and then they did what they call codify. And that's where they took all those amendments and they scattered them all through the document, and so now it's so confusing, nobody knows what it means anymore. And the reason they're doing that is so they can throw it out. They're going to get the baby dirty and throw it out with the bathwater. And that's what's going on. It's been going on a long time. And everybody in this state are more interested in what the damn ball game scores are than what their laws are.
Well, you ain't wrong about that one. Well, I appreciate it, Rooster. I got to hit a break, man. Appreciate the call and the argument. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
272-9228. This part of the program brought to you by Pest Pro Services, and they're at Pest Pro. Ashley and that great team are ready to help you out with, any and all of your pest control needs. Could be something specific you want to take care of, like, you got a wasp problem, like a unique wasp problem. Maybe the mosquitoes are driving you that nuts. You're just ready for mosquito protection on a regular basis so you can actually enjoy your property. Or it could be you're looking for just a great local trusted company that's growing and continues to grow because they're just that good with their services and for a reasonable cost. Pest Pro Services is the place to go. Check them out today. You can always learn more about them at ppsriverregion.com, or you can always search Pest Pro Services on the Book of Faces. They have a very active Facebook page, and it's a great thing when you go to their Facebook page. They're always doing events giving back to the local community. So these are the types of folks you'd be working with. Not only do you get great pest control services, it's staying here local and helping out local folks. So check them out today. Again, you can go to the website, go to the Facebook page, or just call them at 265-9990. That's 265-9990. Pest Pro Services. When you want to know, call a pro. And be sure to tell them that Joey, that fellow on the radio, sent you.
He may not know whether he's coming or going, but whether you're going to work or coming home, Greg Budell is there. Mornings, 6 till 9, and afternoons, 3 till 6. Only on News Talk 93.1 FM, WACV.
A new year brings new opportunities, and right now the market is starting to shift.
Interest rates are beginning to come down, which means more buying power and more options for buyers who've been waiting.
If you're thinking about buying a home, this could be the moment to take that next step.
And whether you're buying, selling, or investing, having experience on your side matters more than ever.
At Hannah and Eddie Realty Group, we're also growing our team.
If you're an experienced agent ready to make a difference in this market and want to be part of a team that values knowledge, support, and results, call Hannah and Eddie Realty Group, where opportunity meets experience.
If you're struggling with ED or your performance is down and your belly fat is growing, listen up. You've got one life. Now is the time to act.
At Montgomery Men's Health, we're not just healthcare, we're your secret weapon. Don't wait another day. Here's why you need to act right now.
Every moment you delay, your condition could worsen. It's not just about sex, it's about your heart, your relationship, your life.
Montgomery Men's Health has years of proven results for ED and low T. We've introduced treatments so exclusive, you'll wonder why you waited.
Procrastination is the thief of time. When it comes to your sexual health, you can't afford to wait. Join the League of Gentlemen who've walked out of our doors with a swagger.
Call Montgomery Men's Health at 334-440-3663 or visit montgomerymenshealth.com. Book your $99 male performance consultation now. Dial 334-440-3663 or visit montgomerymenshealth.com. Montgomery Men's Health, making it happen.
Yes?
Yeah, I'm Bill. You called about some breakers tripping?
Oh, yes, Bill. My brother-in-law says you can do almost anything.
That's me. Not much I hadn't seen.
Do you really want someone who does almost anything in your electric box? Think about that, because each year thousands of home fires are caused by faulty wiring. That's why you want a professional, like the electricians at Crosby Electric.
Bill, how's it going? Bill, ooh, are you okay?
Oh, yeah, well, I didn't really need my eyebrows anyway.
At Crosby Electric, all technicians undergo rigorous safety training, as well as background checks, drug testing, and continuing education.
Bill, you think maybe I should call a real electrician?
No, these little slip-ups happen. Everybody does it.
Really?
No, not really. When you need professional electric work, or you just like someone to assess your home for safety, call the experts at Crosby Electric, 272-2085, or visit us at crosbyelectric.com.
You can't control interest rates. You can't control housing inventory. And you definitely can't control what the national news decides to panic about this week. But here's what you can control. You control your timing. You decide when it's the right time to buy, when it makes sense to refinance, and when to tap into your equity to renovate, invest, or consolidate debt and free up monthly cash flow. Real estate decisions aren't one size fits all, and they shouldn't be driven by headlines or social media noise. They should be based on your goals, your finances, and your life. The smartest moves happen when you focus on what you can control and work with someone who helps you see the full picture. Give us a call at Alabama Home Mortgage today at 334-567-4223 or visit us online at myalabamahomemortgage.com. That's Alabama Home Mortgage, because there is a difference in mortgage companies. NMLS 1586368, Equal Housing Lender.
This is your roving reporter. Today I'm talking with a man from outer space.
What's up, Earthling?
I see you've landed your spacecraft over there in that field.
That's right, man.
My question is, why have you landed here on our planet?
I came to see David Ernest.
The asset preservationist?
Yeah, man. I wanted to see if he would take a look at my portfolio for me.
Well, before you make the trip over there, call him on his toll-free number, 833-596-7233.
And I understand those last 4 digits spell out the word safe.
That is correct.
Funny thing happened the last time I came to Earth.
What was that?
I went to the Walmart, man.
Yes?
And I accidentally went in the back door.
How did that work out?
Well, they stopped me and very gently told me that I needed to go around front and come in.
And then what did you do?
I said, cool, man. Take me to your greeter.
You flew millions of miles just for that.
Hey, man, I don't ride them. I just read them.
Rich Thomas Weather is brought to you by Clark Heating, Air, and Plumbing. It's time to schedule your spring tune-up with Clark Heating, Air, and Plumbing. Don't wait. Schedule today. Give them a call at 334-277-2125. Alabama certification number 88007.
Rich Thomas Weather.
Well, hi, everybody. No big surprises in our forecast. Warm and humid again today with a high temperature right around 90. A sun and cloud mix with maybe a few pop-up afternoon and evening showers and storms, which fade out later on in the evening hours. Some neighborhoods get wet, others stay dry, and not much day-to-day change. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, right on through the Memorial Day weekend. Highs in the upper 80s, lows at night are right around 70 with scattered random storms here and there. Don't last long, and many towns stay dry. A pretty routine summer forecast. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
Budget Floors and More has the best prices. Carpet as low as 69 cents per square foot. LVP starting at $1.29 a square foot. Sheet vinyl as low as 65 cents per square foot. And the lowest prices on flooring installation supplies. Budget Floors and More across from Delray Publix.
Live, local talk. The River Region's most trusted voice for news and opinion. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back, and as we look at election results and all the campaign talk and runoff talk, the world keeps on spinning. And it looks like the Trump administration is now putting extra pressure on Havana, on Cuba. Happening live right now, a U.S. attorney, Quinones, Jason A. Redding Quinones, they have filed charges. The Justice Department has indicted Raul Castro, the former president and defense minister of Cuba, on murder and conspiracy charges tied to the downing of 2 American civilian planes in 1996. Mr. Castro was charged along with 5 others in the case. The charges would stem from that fatal downing of 2 planes operated by a humanitarian aid group 30 years ago, or an extraordinary escalation of the Trump administration's pressure campaign against Cuba's communist government. DOJ going on to say Cuban regime has oppressed its people. Like, this is essentially, by indicting Raul Castro, you're also indicting the whole regime. Cuban regime went unchallenged in the murder of Americans, the U.S. Attorney Quinones goes on to say. And this all as this morning, Marco Rubio put out, this message, the Secretary of State, in Spanish, by the way. And so let me read it as he talks along here. On a day like today, in 1902, the the Cuban flag flew for the first time over an independent country. But I know that today, you who call the island your home are going through unimaginable hardships. Today, I want to share with you some reason about the reason for the suffering, and I want to tell you what we in the U.S. are offering to help you. Not only alleviate the current crises, but also to build a better future. The reason you are forced to survive 22 hours a day without electricity is not due to an oil blockade by the U.S. As you know better than anyone, you have been suffering from blackouts for years. The real reason you don't have electricity, fuel, or food is because those who control your country have plundered billions of dollars, but nothing has been used to help the people. 30 years ago, Raul Castro founded a company called Gaesa. This company is owned and operated by the armed forces and has revenues 3 times greater than your current government's budget. Wow. Today, while you suffer, these businessmen have $18 billion in assets and control 70% of Cuba's economy. They profit from hotels, construction, banks, stores, and even from the money your relatives send you from the U.S. Everything passes through their hands. From those remittances, they retain a percentage, but from Gaesa profits, nothing reaches you. Instead of using the money to buy oil, like all other countries in the world, they depend on free oil from Hugo Chavez and Maduro to keep the money. But now that the free oil has stopped coming, they buy fuel for their generators in their vehicles, while the people are asked to sacrifice. Instead of using the money to maintain and modernize the damaged power plants, they use the money to build more hotels for foreigners and to send their relatives to live in luxury in Madrid and even here in the United States. Today, Cuba is not controlled by any quote-unquote revolution. Cuba is controlled by Gaesa, a state within the state that is accountable to no one and hoards the profits from its businesses for the benefit of a small elite. And the only role played by the so-called government is to demand that you continue making so-called sacrifices and repressing anyone who dares to complain. President Trump is offering a new relationship between the U.S. and Cuba, but it must be directly with you, the Cuban people, not Gaesa. First, we are offering $100 million in food and medicine for you, the people, but they must be distributed directly to the Cuban people by the Catholic Church or other trusted charitable groups, not stolen from Gaesa to sell at one of their stores. But the Cuban people are not interested in permanent charity. You want the opportunity to live in your own country, the way your relatives live in the U.S. or in other countries of the world. Today, from media to entertainment to the private sector to politics, and from music to sports, Cubans have reached the top of virtually all industries in all countries except one, Cuba. Today in Cuba, only those close to the Gaesa elite or who are part of it can have profitable businesses. But President Trump is offering a new path between the U.S. and a new Cuba. A new Cuba where you, the ordinary Cuban, and not just Gaesa, can own a gas station or a clothing store or a restaurant. A new Cuba where you, and not just Gaesa, can open a bank or have a construction company. A new Cuba where you, and not just the Communist Party of Cuba, can own a television station or a newspaper. A new Cuba where you can complain about a failing system without fear of going to jail or being forced to leave your island. A new Cuba where you have a real opportunity to choose who governs your country and vote to replace them if they are not doing a good job. This is not impossible. All of this exists in the Bahamas, the Dominican Republic, Jamaica, and even just 90 miles away in Florida. If owning your own business and having the right to vote is possible around Cuba, why is it not possible for you in Cuba? In the U.S., we are ready to open a new chapter in the relationship between our people and our countries. And currently, the only thing standing in the way is of a better future are those who control your country. And that was Secretary of State delivering it fully in Spanish directly to the people of Cuba. And, then you see this charge, this indictment of Raul Castro with murder and conspiracy to kill, while the entire government is being called out by those same U.S. attorneys. Yeah, this is something that I think in particular Cuban Americans have wanted for a long, long, long time. And what's interesting is you're now seeing the children and grandchildren of Cuban refugees to the United States who are now in positions of power following up on that. Actually, when somebody sits down and writes this story well, it's going to be a heck of a story to tell. But it's taken too long. We'll see if it all shakes out. But I think it was kind of brilliant to focus in on the state within the state, on, what does it say, Gaesa. 272-9228. That's 334-272-9228. A lot of changes all at once. You know, taking on Cuba would have been like a thing a president does in like a year, and this is what? We're still talking about Greenland and Iran and all the other stuff Trump is doing. Not to mention Venezuela and the rest of this hemisphere. I always have thought, whether it was Venezuela or Colombia or Cuba, that the real meal and the real tough nut to crack is Mexico. And, it makes sense that you would handle all the other surrounding issues in the hemisphere so you could then focus directly all your attention without any other worries on Mexico. It'll be fascinating to watch. But all depends on who gets voted in at the midterms and who maybe gets voted in 2028. I think this might be something that is a legacy that will outlast Trump and a story that might outlast Trump's presidency. We shall see. Got to hit this quick break. We'll be right back after this.
Want to carry News Talk in your pocket? Download the News Talk 93.1 app from the App Store. Available on iPhone and Android. Never miss a moment. Download now.
For too long, Alabama's statewide news companies have shamed us for our conservative Christian values. Alabama deserves a news company that cherishes our culture, a company that isn't bought and paid for by the powers that be. 1819 News is that company. Run by Alabamians for Alabamians, 1819 News celebrates what is good and beautiful about our state, while exposing those who work against our values in secret. Just go to 1819news.com to learn more. Subscribe to our newsletter. That's 1819news.com.
Hi, I'm Carl Schmidt, naturopath and owner of the Herb Shop Wellness Center at 8161 Vaughan Road. You know, with over 30 years experience in natural wellness, I've seen countless health fads come and go. A few years ago, we added a patented technology that actually activates your stem cells. It reverses the aging process at the cellular level. However, you do need proper hydration and targeted nutrition. At the Herb Shop, our advanced scanning and testing technology allows us to accurately assess your nutritional needs and get a customized plan for you. Come in today and see what the Herb Shop can do for you.
Hey y'all, it's Rooster with Rooster's Muffler Moore in Prattville. Ever since I've been advertising with Blue Water Broadcasting, my parking lot's been full. Y'all come see me right here at Rooster's Muffler Moore on South Memorial Drive in Prattville.
Did you know that radio is the #1 reach platform in all of media? It's true. Call us to find out how to put radio's #1 reach to work for your business. Blue Water Broadcasting. Local folks helping local business.
The River Region's News Talk station. News Talk 93.1. WACV. News Talk 93.1.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back. I'm your host, Joey Clark. Before I forget, this part of the program brought to you by Invista Advisors, and they're at Invista Advisors. Well, Austin Branco runs the brokerage desk there, and the whole team, including that chief strategist they've got there, the guy who's at the top, Brant McDonald, who you've heard for years on these airways with Greg Budell. They're ready to help you out. It could be you are looking for some folks to, to your liking, manage those assets for you, manage that stock portfolio, those investments. But, of course, they can help you beyond just that investment portfolio. They can help you across the board with any sort of financial planning, whether end-of-life concerns, maybe the beginning of laying down roots, starting up a family, life insurance, and other strategies you might want to put in place to help out the kids in the long run. Or it could be you're more in the middle of life. A lot of time and money tied up in a nonprofit or in a small business, and you want to have a sense of greener pastures. Or maybe it's like a nonprofit you started. You used to run it just out of your house, and now you're like, I need help. We're popular. This is a good problem to have. So Invista Advisors can help you with all that and more than what I just mentioned. So check them out today. You can always go to InvistaAdvisors.com or just call them direct. Start the conversation that way at 387-0094. That's 387-0094. And be sure to tell those great folks there at Invista Advisors that Joey, that fellow on the radio, sent you. Quick change up from politics. I'm one of the few tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, that watches on somewhat regular basis. I haven't watched much of late, but Matt Fradd, who is mostly a Catholic podcaster, but he had on a guy named Malcolm Guite, I think, or Guite, however you say that. But this guy is apparently an expert on J.R.R. Tolkien and C.S. Lewis and like the Lord of the Rings and so much of that literature that is infused with just, and I think influenced the culture, even people that aren't explicitly Christian or Catholic. It's influenced the culture in ways that are just incredible. And so this is a Tolkien expert, Malcolm, sitting down with Matt Fradd. And the question here is, do you trust God's writing of your story? Do you trust God's writing of your story? Yeah, perhaps you're not the one who's writing it. Let's listen in to this short clip.
When Sam and Frodo are in Mordor, there's still a whole way to go, and they're outnumbered and exhausted, and the ring is getting heavier and heavier, and suddenly Sam starts reminding Bilbo of the great stories. And he says, all those people were in dark and desperate places as difficult as the one we're in now, but they didn't give up, and it wasn't the end of their story. Do you suppose we might be in a story, Mr. Frodo? And I'm going, I'm reading this as a teen. I'm going, yes, you are, I'm reading it. Don't worry, guys, it's not the end. This is my second read through. It's going to be, But the idea, of course, if you're a reader and a character in a story you're reading says, do you suppose we might be in a story? You've got to say, whoa. Do you suppose I might be in a story?
Someone reading about me?
And that idea that, God is speaking us into being, telling this great story of creation, fall, and redemption, and resurrection, and renewal. And he himself is embodying and enacting it in Christ. And then he lets us not admire the hero from afar, but actually be part of the story, literally in Christ and Christ in us. That's an astonishing thing. And I think for somebody who's felt they've fallen out of any ever good story there was, and that there's no connection, no thread in their life, no meaning to the random pattern of just stuff happening. If you knew there is a story. When
sucker for that sort of stuff. And I think it's an incredible message. Whether you're doing really well in life or maybe you might be in a dark, dark place, there is a place for you in the heart, the Sacred Heart of our Lord Jesus Christ, and a story that still be written for you if you, just don't let the darkness get you down. Anyway, we'll be right back after this.
Broadcasting from the Riverside Chevrolet Master Control Center, this is WACV Cusada, News Talk 93.1 FM. When it's Chevy, it's Riverside.
With SRN News, I'm John Scott. The House has voted to pass an amended version of the Senate-passed 21st Century Road to Housing Act, which will address the housing affordability problem, reducing restrictive regulations and increasing the housing supply. In Georgia, Republicans head toward a runoff to pick their candidates for governor and U.S. Senate in the battleground state that's, after Tuesday's primary, failed to produce outright victors. The Senate runoff will feature former college football coach Derek Dooley and Representative Mike Collins,
while Representative Buddy Carter was knocked out of the race. The winner will go up against Democratic Senator John Ossoff. And Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones and healthcare billionaire Rick Jackson advanced to the runoff for the Republican primary for governor. On Wall Street, the Dow up 540 points. This is SRN News.
Health insurance rates are surging in America, leaving millions without affordable options. If you're sick of having paychecks eaten up by healthcare costs or dealing with mega corporations, then listen to this. Christians don't need to waste money on a broken system. That's why I want to tell you about Christian Healthcare Ministries. It's an alternative to traditional health insurance at half the cost. With CHM, fellow believers contribute monthly to help pay each other's medical bills. There's no enrollment period, so you can join anytime. And you aren't restricted to provider networks, so you choose the doctors and hospitals you want. It's that simple. CHM is not insurance. It's a ministry that puts faith into action. Feel the difference of financial support and biblical care from fellow believers. Join CHM today by visiting chministries.org/wellness. That's chministries.org/wellness.
Rich Thomas Weather, a service of Riverside Chevrolet Wetumpka. If it's Chevy, it's Riverside. Best price, best selection. Check them out on the web at riversideusa.net.
Rich Thomas Weather.
Well, hi, everybody. No big surprises in our forecast. Warm and humid again today with a high temperature right around 90. A sun and cloud mix with maybe a few pop-up afternoon and evening showers and storms, which fade out later on in the evening hours. Some neighborhoods get wet, others stay dry, and not much day-to-day change. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, right on through the Memorial Day weekend. Highs in the upper 80s, lows at night are right around 70 with scattered random storms here and there. Don't last long, and many towns stay dry. A pretty routine summer forecast. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
When the heat hits to the river region, don't wait. If your AC quits, Hands Heating and Air offers same-day service, or your diagnostic charge is free with their Comfort a Day or You Don't Pay guarantee, plus 24/7 service with no overtime charges.
From the Blue Water Broadcasting News Center, these are today's top stories. Search and rescue teams have found the Tallahassee man who went missing on Lake Gunnersville. The body of 25-year-old Jeremiah Gamble was found around 6 p.m. Tuesday evening. Gamble fell out of a pontoon boat Sunday afternoon and never resurfaced. The cause of the accident remains under investigation. Crime Stoppers is now offering a $7,500 reward for information leading to an arrest in the murder of Keyshawn Gardner. Gardner was shot and killed almost 6 years ago in the 5900 block of Oakley Road in Regency Park. A white Ford Fusion with dark tinted windows is believed to be connected with the incident. Anyone with information regarding the murder of Keyshawn Gardner is urged to contact authorities. Jubilee Pops returns to the capital city this weekend. The Montgomery Symphony Orchestra will be performing Friday night on the lawn of the Alabama Department of Archives and History. Bring your lawn chairs and picnic baskets to enjoy patriotic music under the stars. Friday night at 7 p.m. in downtown Montgomery. From the Blue Water Broadcasting News Center, I'm Sky Mosley.
This hour of news and views is brought to you by our good friends at Alabama Home Mortgage. Alabama Home Mortgage, 567-4223. Visit them on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. NMLS number 1586368. An equal housing lender.
Hi, this is Bo Goodson from the Goodson Group with your Real Estate Minute. The 5 things to do when you're considering selling your home. Number 1, get a realtor to evaluate your home, and that will make suggestions on updates needed for your home, painting suggestions, and staging tips to highlight your home. Number 2, along with the evaluation of the house, you need an updated market analysis that compares your house to other houses for sale and those that have sold. Number 3, do a walk around your own home to see what you could do to improve the curb appeal to potential buyers. Since research tells us that 8 out of 10 home buyers choose the house that they view based on the curb appeal of the home. Number 4, review online the houses that have sold in your neighborhood to see how yours compares with the ones that buyers have chosen. Number 5, if possible, use a CRS certified realtor in your marketplace. For other details, call Bo Goodson at the Goodson Group, 221-2883 or 551-0225.
The views and opinions of the following program are solely those of the host and other contributors. These do not necessarily represent those of Liberty Acquisitions 825, Blue Water Broadcasting, its management, staff, or any advertisers.
It's time for Montgomery's conversational radio show. It's News and Views on News Talk 93.1 FM. To join the conversation, call 272-9228.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back. I'm your host, Joey Clark. And I'm looking at a headline here, or at least it's what the FBI is claiming, that violent crime fell across the United States in 2025 at rates not seen in close to a century. Again, this is according to the FBI. Murder and non-negligent manslaughter, whatever that means, plummeted by more than 18% nationwide last year, while aggravated assault dropped by more than 7%, according to a preliminary report on national 2025 crime rates. Violent crime on the whole dipped by about 9.3% last year, the data shows. The 2025 crime data in this report shows the single largest decrease in violent crime and murder since 1937, as well as a huge decrease across the board in terms of aggravated assault, rape, and robbery, said FBI Director Kash Patel. Over the last 14 months, we made major transformations at the FBI, and these results show those changes are working. Rape declined by nearly 8%, while robbery went down about 18.5%. Property crime also decreased, dipping by about 12.4% between 2024 and 2025. The findings come from the FBI's Uniform Crime Reporting Program, which collected data from over 17,000 law enforcement agencies. Those agencies covered nearly all of the policing in the country, about 96%. The number of overall incidents remains alarming, however, even though many crimes are trending downward. There were roughly 1.1 million less violent crimes committed in 2025 compared to 2024, and an even sharper year-over-year decrease of about 5.2 million less property crimes, according to the data. But that amounted to a violent crime happening every 28 seconds, a murder every 37 minutes, and a rape every 4 minutes. Property crimes happen every 6 seconds, with a burglary every 47 seconds and a motor vehicle theft every 46. More than 400,000 violent crimes, about 47%, were cleared with arrest, and about 868,000, 17%, of property crimes. The personal cost to law enforcement was also high. About 53 police officers were killed on duty last year, and more than 90,000 were assaulted in the line of duty. Another 28 died accidentally while on the job. And so the full report is expected to be released in coming months. But, you got to wonder, can we get more of that here from Montgomery? Now, things have, from a peak, and I guess 2020 come down, but it seems like our baseline, like before 2019, after 2019, seems our baseline in particular for homicide, though that's not the only thing. You look at property crimes and all these other things we were just mentioning. But the senator from Montgomery, from Alabama, Katie Brett, was talking with the FBI and mentioned a certain operation. Shout out to Montgomery from the Senate committee hearing.
Murder rate that we have seen, the significant just actually getting back to the mission of getting the bad guys and putting criminals behind bars. I talked to Director Patel about this last week, but there's great work being done by the FBI and DOJ in my home state. Operation Southern Star in Montgomery has been significant. That's where I live. Yeah. We appreciate that effort. I know that communities across the country appreciate the work that you're doing. Can you discuss how this request increase in resources resources that you have in this budget is going to allow us to build on the current successes and enhance cooperation with state and local partners across the country so that we can do more of what we've seen in Montgomery over the Operation Southern Star.
Yes. So there is nothing more important.
This is Todd Blanche, the acting attorney general.
Than our state and local partnerships when it comes to combating violent crime. Nearly every violent criminal that's arrested by the feds are assisted by a cop or a detective or a trooper in that case. And so when we talk about the work that the federal government and the FBI and DEA and Marshals and ATF and HSI have done over the past year, we are really talking about the work that they did partnering with the state and locals. So our budget reflects that. We want $2.9 billion for state and local grants. That's money that's going to go to law enforcement to combat violent crime. $12 billion for our budget for violent crime. And you said that, but I want to make sure I'm giving props to the great men and women of law enforcement in our country. It worked. I mean, we did see meaningful reductions in violent crime, which means everybody's streets are safer than they were a year and a half ago. So.
Well, as someone who is raising two teenagers and wants these streets to be safer, particularly the ones, where all these families are trying to build their lives, we say thank you.
Amen. And I think it could be safer still, especially here in Montgomery. And it shouldn't require the state and the feds having to supplement too much, though any help is welcome. Yeah, I think it has much more to do with local leadership, but I'm sounding like a broken record there, and I probably will continue to sound like a broken record there. Montgomery needs a new mayor. Again, 272-9228 if you want to get in on the conversation. It's 334-272-9228. Let's switch it up completely. Let's go to Jeff Bezos. Now, Bezos is trying to drop the whole Dr. Evil thing, but the way he has done the complete, what do they call it, glow up? You make a lot of money and all of a sudden you can have muscles and, actually look like a man. But Bezos did a recent interview with CNBC, and it's interesting to watch the billionaires know which way the wind is blowing. Remember, Bezos was at the Trump inauguration with his fiancée with those things hanging out there. It was very distracting, very unseemly for such an august event. That said, Bezos just sat down for a CNBC interview, and you can tell the billionaires are not enjoying the rise of the so-called socialist and are trying to set the record straight. Now, I don't know if I fully trust old Jeffy here, Jeff Bezos, or any of these folks that are, they blow with the wind how they need to. But the points he's making in this interview, it shouldn't earn his trust with you, but you should be probably nodding along to these points that Bezos is about to make. In particular, this idea. I like it when a billionaire talks about cutting taxes, not for himself, but for, say, the vast majority, if not the complete total of everyday people in the nation. Let's listen in.
We'll talk about, making the tax system more progressive. How about we start by having the nurse in Queens not pay taxes?
Amen.
Why is a nurse in Queens who makes $75,000 a year paying more than $1,000 a month in taxes? That's $1,000 a month that could help with rent or groceries or anything. And so, and by the way, do you know what that all adds up to? The bottom half of income earners in this country pay only 3% of the taxes. It's only 3%. We can find 3%. So we don't have, it's a small amount of money for the government, that. And really, and the more I thought about it, to me, it's kind of absurd that we're doing this. We shouldn't be asking this nurse in Queens to send money to Washington. They should be sending her to people talk.
And that would be great. No income tax for the, say, bottom 50% of income earners. Just none. No taxes at all taken out. Talk about a leg up. Where you don't have to worry about the tax bill. You don't have the anxiety of the tax bill. You don't have to pay it, which I guess is the most hurtful part of it. So, I don't know if I trust you, Jeff Bezos, but I like that idea. I think it's a pretty good idea, Jeff Bezos. And by the way, it is kind of cool. What a flex to be sitting there doing this interview talking about cutting taxes for no taxes for a huge swath of people, like the nurse in Queens, while you're sitting there behind your rocket factory. Like you got rockets being built right behind you. I mean, that's a bit of flex. Now, as he's sitting there in front of all these rockets being built up, here is Bezos taking on, well, AOC, who visited Montgomery, apparently. Yeah, I didn't even know that. You know, some people thought I'd be going down there to, try to talk to her or something. Like, why would I do that on a perfectly good Saturday? I had to write. I wrote like a 1,600-word thing nobody read, but, I'd rather do that than go listen to the Democrats squawk and try to use Alabama as their moral melodrama stage or platform. So anyway, I think this goes to the AOC comment that nobody can earn $1 billion. You can earn a lot, but you can't earn $1 billion. Well, let's listen into the guy who has earned billions talk about this.
Let me ask you about the anger, because there seems to be anger, at least from certain political sides of this. And AOC recently said in a podcast, I'm just curious how you think about this, says there's a certain level of wealth and accumulation that is unearned, she says. You can't earn $1 billion. Just can't earn that, she says. You can get market power, you can break rules, you can abuse labor laws, you can pay people less than what they're worth, but you can't earn that. Yeah. By the way, you've earned extraordinary amount of money. You employ largest employer, if not one of them, in the whole country. When you read that, what do you think?
Well, it's not correct on its face. Let me give you a simple example. Let's say you start a burger joint and you have 10 employees, and you make a little bit of money.
Right.
So you have this one outlet. And by the way, these are the most delicious burgers in the world. People love your burgers, Andrew. And so then you open a second outlet.
Right.
And now you're making a little bit more money, and you have 20 employees, and you open a third outlet. By the time you've opened 1,000 outlets, you are a billionaire.
Right.
And by the way, this is a real life story. It happens all the time. It's In-N-Out Burger. It's Raising Cane's chicken. At what point did that money all of a sudden become unethical? Or it didn't. There was one outlet, and then there were two, and then there were three. What you're doing, the way you make $1 billion or $100 million or $10 million or anything, is you create a service that people love. And if millions of people choose your service, you're going to end up with $1 billion.
Right.
And you can, just try it with a chicken franchise.
Do you think, though?
But your chicken has to be good.
But there.
Yeah, and by the way, he's right about that. The chicken's got to be good, because we got a lot of chicken joints in this town, like chicken fingers alone. I'm talking about like proper fried chicken, or like rotisserie chicken, or roasted chicken, or whatever. But just chicken finger spots. How many of those do we need in one spot, one place, one city? It's the same thing with all the car washes around here. Makes me think somebody's laundering some money. Anyway, some of the chicken finger spots are great, and I hope they end up making $1 billion. But it's odd. Jeff Bezos is making a lot of sense. He's making a lot of sense. Now, there is this vibe out there. There is a sentiment out there that, well, eat the rich. They're ones taking advantage of us. And I think that's because, well, there is a huge class of people that perhaps are billionaires that didn't make money off of chicken joints. They make money off of, well, things that often are lost on people, services that are lost on people, and services and certain transactions that affect everyday people's lives. But I really don't think of that as like a problem with the free market. In fact, I think where we have our worst instances of abuse and rigging of the system against the everyday person, it's when the government's involved. Like what? Look at the everyday inflation for gas and food is one thing, but look at the inflation rates for, say, college education. And then you end up with degree inflation where everybody gets a degree, and grade inflation where everybody's getting an A or a B, and all of a sudden that A or B or that degree isn't worth what it once was, and yet you're paying tens of thousands of dollars for those credentials that aren't worth that in the market. And it all really took off, like, pour gasoline on it when the federal government started backing those loans. And colleges are happy to eat it all up. Well, a huge part of their revenue comes from athletics. Not even the academic side, especially football. But it's not just there. Think of healthcare. Yeah. Now, there are some changes being made by the Trump team we can get to in a second, especially the expansion of Trump RX. But when you look at the healthcare markets, the average person's getting screwed. Don't get me wrong. There are amazing, fixes and procedures and amazing people working within the industry. But it is so tied up with government spending, government regulation, government driving the train that has created this awful two-tier system. And then when you look at, say, like the pure, like the fat cat on Wall Street, like just the financialization of everything. Think that just happens on a free market, or perhaps that has to do with how much the government's involved in a lot of this stuff. So we'll see. We'll see if people actually start pointing the finger in the right direction and start channeling their anger in the right direction. Right now, I'm just being honest with you, Trump and team are leaving some things on the table. In particular, I'm looking here, interest payments on the national debt are approaching a $1.5 trillion. Just interest payments. They just asked for a $1.5 trillion Pentagon budget. So I guess we'll just keep increasing the Pentagon budget to keep up with the interest rate payments on the national debt. And at some point, you got to wonder, when does this get out of control? When does this actually get out of control? But, a lot of this, where the anger should be pointed, is very much what Rubio said to the Cuban people. Any sort of industry where it is essentially folks that are able to skim off the top and control massive amounts of your life, and you can do nothing about it, yeah, maybe those are the ones we should direct our anger at, and at least look at a different option. Reform, if not outright starting over, and how certain things are done. But generally speaking, just attacking somebody because they make really tasty chicken, and now they have 10, 20,000 outlets, or somebody created, a place where you can buy anything, started as a bookstore, right, Amazon. Now you can buy anything from there, and it shows up at your door, in major cities within hours. Whatever you want. Anything you want. And the reason they got rich is because people like that service. They're willing to pay for it in a lot of ways. And don't get me started on Elon Musk. You think it's valuable to be able to send regular reusable rockets into orbit? To send satellites, to create satellite internet? Is there value? Any value? Any at all in that? Yeah, I'd imagine so. 272-9228, again, if you want to get in on the conversation. Now, here's the president yesterday. I mentioned this just a second ago. Talking about the expansion of Trump-rx.gov. This is the portal where you can go get all sorts of drugs on the cheap. On the cheap. Let's listen in.
Today, I'm thrilled to announce that we're increasing the number of drugs available on Trump RX by nearly 7 times, adding over 600 affordable generics to the website, working with industry partners. Cost-effective generic drugs are often available at just a tiny fraction of the price of their brand name equivalents, and in theory, they're the same thing. Sometimes they're better, with the same dosage, the same effectiveness, and the same active ingredients, yet many consumers do not think to ask for them. They don't know about them. By incorporating this massive catalog of low-cost generics at TrumpRx.gov, consumers will now have one source to ensure that they're getting the lowest possible cost on their prescription. So they have a real option now. Today, they have something that they've never had before. They've never had anything like this or even close. With these additions, Trump RX will feature the best and lowest prices on prescriptions used by tens of millions of Americans already. And in some cases, the discounted generics available through Trump RX may be offered at an even lower cash price than the out-of-pocket insurance cost, which has always been the lowest, but we're going to be lower. This means that the TrumpRx.gov should always be your first stop before you go to the pharmacy to pick up your prescription.
And so adding more and more of this in a way, okay, if the government's going to be so involved, why not use the government to move in a direction that actually helps the end consumer? Here is Dr. Oz. Yeah, I think he was smart in picking TV people. Here's Dr. Oz on MS Now. So on enemy territory, he is taking on and explaining this expansion. And so folks ask for the practical stuff. You know, sometimes you want the sexy stuff, the sizzle, the crazy, the fights, the yada, yada, yada. But lowering pharmaceutical costs for all sorts of people makes a big difference. Let's listen and Dr. Oz defend this new program.
Council of Economic Advisors have estimated it's going to save the American people between $500 and $700 billion over the next 10 years. So if we use this most favored nation drug pricing platform correctly, it'll be wonderful for everybody. And maybe I take a quick step back and explain why this concept is so important. Not quite, but almost 1 in 3 Americans, when they go to a drugstore, leave empty-handed because they cannot afford the price of the medications they've been prescribed by their doctor. So as the person who's running Medicare and Medicaid, I'm paying for the doctor to examine you, but I've also got to pay for the medications if you're on Medicare or Medicaid. But if you're not, or you're in a commercial insurance plan, a lot of times you can't afford those meds. And so the president realized that part of the cause of that was that we're paying $3 more, 3-to-1 ratio, 3 times more for the exact same products made in the same factories, often here in America, than they pay for overseas. Didn't make any sense at all. So he insisted that we created a most favored nation drug pricing strategy, which means no more global freeloading. Everyone pays the same amount of money, no matter where you are on the planet. And that goal has achieved massive savings with the 17 largest companies that fulfill most of the branded prescription drugs solutions in America. Now, that stated, that's wonderful. We need to get to the other 90% of drugs, and they're in the generic category. And these drugs are available to Americans, but their prices are all over the place. And so think of TrumpRx.gov like a transparency site. We're going to put as many drugs as possible on the platform, using as many partners as possible. We don't make any money on TrumpRx.gov. It's your government's present to you. All we ask is that you check the prices on TrumpRx.gov before you fulfill a prescription anywhere in the country, because a lot of times the better prices will be available on the website. You can get a coupon. You could have it shipped to you. There's lots of solutions. It was built by a wonderful team in National Design Studio. The head of that studio, Joe Gebbia, actually founded Airbnb. Ed Korstein, a great team of technology experts, has crafted this for the American people. And now more than half of all the prescription interactions in America will have options available at TrumpRx.gov, which is why we have more than 10 million people who've already gone to the site.
And when you talk about $700 billion over 10 years in savings, that is remarkable. And I wonder if this will get expanded yet again, because it just started this way. Anyway, we got to hit a quick break. First, this part of the program, Speaking of Health, is brought to you by Montgomery Men's Health, powered by Men's Pro here in Montgomery, Alabama. And, of course, they're serving the whole river region. And if you're a man and you don't feel like a man anymore, like, say it just ain't working in the bedroom anymore. You know what I'm talking about. It ain't working at all. Well, that's disappointing, ain't it? Frustrating a little bit, yeah. Kind of shoots through your confidence. Yeah. But it's beyond just the bedroom. If you're lacking confidence across life, you're seeing unwanted weight gain, you're just exhausted all the livelong day, fall asleep right after lunch, don't have that get up and go that you once did, well, it could very well be low testosterone. And then, of course, there's all sorts of other options there that I won't even name. That, men maybe have certain, they worry about size. That's what I'll leave it at. They worry about size. Men worry about size. They've got a lot of different options there at Montgomery Men's Health, powered by Men's Pro. And they can help you out. Now, of course, they can also help you with the peptide game. You can now do an online subscription and then have an in-person consultation, so you're talking to actual doctors, steering you in the right direction. Whether looking for mental focus or more help with, say, weight loss or muscle gain, just general energy levels across the board, they can help you there, especially with those great peptide options. So check them out today. You can always just call Montgomery Men's Health directly at 440-3663. or book online in under 30 seconds at MontgomeryMen'sHealth.com. Don't wait, gentlemen. There are a lot of guys who go, the treatment works wonderfully, and then they say, wish I'd shown up sooner. Well, get by there then. Don't wait any longer. Montgomery Men's Health, for every man in every season of life.
He may not know whether he's coming or going, but whether you're going to work or coming home, Greg Budell is there. Mornings 6 till 9 and afternoons 3 till 6. Only on News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
What's your biggest investment? More than likely, it's your home. So treat it that way when you hire a painting contractor. With PBS Painting, there are no gimmicks, no $99 specials. Just quality painting and someone who treats your home with the same respect that you do. At PBS Painting, we have been painting for years and look forward to many more years to come. With PBS Painting, the job gets prepped properly, whether it's cleaning, scraping, or priming. We always use quality products, which is a must for a quality paint job. So if you're looking for a painter that doesn't need upfront money and is on the job at all times, then please give me a call. Scott Bowers and PBS Painting, 294-5122. That's PBS Painting, 294-5122. Look at some of our work on Facebook at PBS Painting Montgomery.
Whether it's AC or heating or plumbing that you're needing, whatever you require, call Lou Choir. Since 1983, we've treated you like family. Day or night, we do things right so you can live more comfortably. Whether it's AC or heating or plumbing that you're needing, whatever you require, call Lou Choir right now.
We get a lot of questions about what all we handle at Hannah and Eddie Realty Group. I'm Hannah Grantham.
And I'm Eddie Bader, and we will handle all of your real estate needs.
We handle all your buying and selling needs, from your first home, next home, land, investment property, and even commercial properties.
We do it all and have the experience that shows you what makes us different.
So when you think real estate, think Hannah and Eddie Realty Group. Look us up on Facebook or give us a call at 334-368-6358. And let us show you who you have on your sign matters.
This hour of news and views is brought to you by our good friends at Alabama Home Mortgage. Alabama Home Mortgage, 567-4223. Visit them on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. NMLS number 1586368. An equal housing lender.
Welcome to Eclectic Coins, Montgomery's largest coin dealer, specializing in buying and selling investment-grade gold and silver coins. And they have a large selection of rare coins and coins from around the world. Visit them at 543 Northeastern Boulevard or on the web at eclecticcoins.com. Eclectic Coins, where collectors who know go.
This hour of news and views is brought to you by our good friends at Alabama Home Mortgage. Alabama Home Mortgage, 567-4223. Visit them on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. NMLS number 1586368, an equal housing lender.
Rich Thomas Weather is brought to you by Wiley Sanders Truck Lines.
Truckers, listen up. A $2,500 sign-on bonus only at Wiley Sanders Truck Lines. Work for a company that puts God and family first. 855-777-9785. Wiley Sanders Truck Lines.
Rich Thomas Weather.
Well, hi, everybody. No big surprises in our forecast. Warm and humid again today with a high temperature right around 90. A sun and cloud mix with maybe a few pop-up afternoon and evening showers and storms, which fade out later on in the evening hours. Some neighborhoods get wet, others stay dry, and not much day-to-day change. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, right on through the Memorial Day weekend. Highs in the upper 80s, lows at night right around 70 with scattered random storms here and there. Don't last long, and many towns stay dry. A pretty routine summer forecast. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
Live local talk. The River Region's only 24-hour News Talk FM station. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back. Now let's go to a bit of a clinic. the vice president put on yesterday. This is Vice President J.D. Vance fielded all sorts of questions. But there's this one moment where there's some particular sizzle where a reporter started essentially giving a speech. Y'all have seen this in Q&As where somebody doesn't ask a question, they just give a speech, and often the speech has to do with how bad the person they're talking to sucks. Well, one of these occasions, but this is with the vice president in the briefing room yesterday. Let's listen in.
The president's financial disclosures were released recently, and they showed a lot of stock trades in companies that he has talked up at events, official events at the White House, on his True Social account, sometimes even putting the stock ticker symbols in his posts and encouraging people to buy their stock. Americans, according to recent polling, are increasingly describing the president as corrupt. And trading stocks...
This is a hell of a question.
Thank you, sir. Trading individual stocks is something that you said that public officials should not be able to do when you ran for Senate all those years ago. And yet the president, who arguably has access to more non-public information than your average senator, is not only buying and selling individual stocks either through his trust.
Okay. What's the question?
The question is, the question, sir, is how can you and your administration argue to Americans that you're cleaning up corruption, you're preventing fraud, you're fighting the sorts of things that harm people and people's financial situations, when the president seems to be talking up stocks that he owns, selling them, and enriching himself?
Okay, so here, let me answer your question here. That was a doozy. Before I answer your question, I want to just observe there are different ways to ask a question. Okay, you could just ask a question, try to get your answer, or you could do like a speech where you say, Mr. Vice President, you're a terrible human being, and so is the president, so is the entire cabinet, and then I'm like, what's your question? And then your question is, how dare you? Come on, man. Have a little bit of objectivity in the way that you ask these questions, because there were a lot of things in that speech masquerading as a question that didn't actually get asked, okay? Number one, the president doesn't sit at the Oval Office on his computer on his Robinhood account buying and selling stocks. That's absurd. He has independent wealth advisors who manage his money. He is a wealthy person. He has had success in business. He's not making these stock trades himself. And your question imputes that. It doesn't say it exactly, but a reasonable person listening to that question would assume the president is sitting around and doing that. He's not. Second of all, you're right. I am a big fan of banning members of Congress from trading stocks. So is the President of the United States. All of us believe that nobody should be taking proprietary information gained from public service and buying and selling stocks. We want to ban that. We want to ban that process. And I think the way to lead by example is banning that process, banning that approach, and making it illegal, which is exactly what the president has proposed doing.
J.D. Vance, he knows how to handle himself, but he's not done. There's more. And it is very tricky. I mean, some of these questions, they get you to accept a lot of, one of the classic things is you ask 5-6 questions within one, and all the stuff the person didn't answer, well, then you assume they have no answer to it, right? And then there's all these framing gimmicks and tricks and different ways of getting people backed into a corner. But, let's listen into the vice president calling out the press once again.
This is why we say we have to evaluate this thing case by case, right? We don't in the United States say that everybody who's accused of a crime is automatically guilty in a court of public opinion. You've got to actually look at this stuff and figure out what were they accused of. Maybe they did something bad even, but what they were accused of was way worse of what they actually did. Maybe they had their entire lives ruined in a totally disproportionate way. That's fundamentally illegitimate and political. And I find, just Carol, on this point, one of the interesting things about the American media is there is a fascination. If you go to any American law school, there are these, prisoner rights clinic. There are people who objectively committed heinous crimes, but the American media and the American Legal Academy has decided that even though they committed bad crimes, their sentence was disproportionate, they were mistreated in some way. You know who never ever gets an ounce of sympathy when it comes to that disproportionate sentencing is people who voted for Donald Trump and participated in the January 6th protest. Go to
I guess we're still talking about January 6th at this late of a day. Goodness gracious. Democrats really do need new leadership. And by Democrats, I mean like the media companies as well. Now, here's another one. Like Vance was just taking all sorts of questions. I think he did the press conference to talk about the anti-fraud task force that they've put together and continue to pursue all sorts of cases around the country. But here, I don't know, it looks like somebody's essentially like there's worry that if you believe in, God and that your rights come from God and maybe you're even a nationalist and a Christian, then it might be you want to get rid of the First Amendment and all sorts of stuff like that. Well, actually, here's the vice president, and maybe you actually, you believe in violence to enforce your point of view. Let's listen in.
The principle of religious violence is particularly disgusting, especially in the United States of America. And as a devout Christian, I would say it's one of the most anti-Christian things and anti-American things that you could do. And here's why. One, because a fundamental principle of all the great faiths is we are all children of God. And because of that, we are endowed by certain rights that are unique to our status as human beings.
Yep.
You violate those rights, most importantly, when you commit violence against another person. You can violate them in other ways as well, but the most profound way to violate the fundamental right of human dignity is to commit violence. But here's why the religious piece of it is particularly egregious. One of the fundamental American rights that I think came from our Christian heritage as a civilization is the idea that we respect people's religious freedom, in part because we respect them as human beings, but also because we respect their right to find their own pathway to God. You can't force anybody to a pathway to God. They have to, through their own free will, find God themselves. That's
Amen.
one of the reasons why that right of religious freedom is the very first right enshrined in our Constitution. So when you commit acts of violence, you're committing an act against this fundamental idea that people are created in the image of God and that they have the right through their own free will to find God however they might want. And as a Christian, of course, you might have your preference for how they find their pathway to God. They have to find that choice. And anybody who would commit violence against another human being in the name of religion is, I think, doing something that is a violation, of course, of the laws of man, but I think more importantly, it is a fundamental violation of the laws of God.
And by the way, if this had to do with that awful shooting at a San Diego mosque, the manifesto is just over the top. I mean, hated at it, everybody. Everybody, including the, kind of loves Hitler, neo-Nazi. But the opinions are nonsensical collection of anti-Trump, anti-liberal, anti-Semitic, homophobic, and misogynistic bile tied together only by the author's fury. They were not given more in life. Perhaps just evil? Perhaps not everything has to be explained by some political ideology? Or can be used in that way? He wanted to accelerate a quote-unquote race war. Okay. Absolutely insane. Absolutely awful, too. But yeah, especially these sort of massacres. It's just evil. And when you actually read a lot of these people's stuff, you start to realize, oh, this doesn't make sense, right? What do you think the Dark Lord himself is? The split personality, who's literally insane. But he always wants to do what he wants to do. And you see that so often with these folks that go this far. But yeah, I think there was some priming to try to suggest, they shot up a mosque, so it might be some right-winger. No, it's an evil, crazy person. Who's probably possessed in some way. Anyway. I thought it was a great answer from J.D. Vance talking about, religious freedom. think it is a great principle. I think Christians can claim it in a big way. After a lot of Christians killed a lot of other Christians over it. I think the founders of this nation, as we celebrate the 250th birthday of the United States of America, realized, hey, we don't want all that crazy crap that just happened in Europe. Because we've got a lot of different types of Christians here. We need not go down that road again, where our faith becomes a power struggle instead of, well, freely choosing to give up your heart in a broken, contrite way to the good Lord above and to the Lord Jesus Christ. Not to be preachy about it. 272-9228. That's 334-272-9228. But let's keep going with the preachiness because they just can't help themselves. And after my recent reversion back to Catholicism, I can just see it coming for days. If it's Rubio and Vance as the front runners for the GOP to be the next president, the media is going to find every which way to continue to bring up their religious faith and put them at odds with like certain gotcha questions, but it's a classic move. And continue to, even if it's little things, drive wedges wherever they can. But on the question of artificial intelligence, this one might just be of interest. Maybe it's not a wedge. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. But the vice president is asked about a papal encyclical that will be released, I believe, on Monday in full. Pope Leo chose the name Leo because the last Pope, Leo, dealt with the Industrial Revolution and all the craziness of technological change that was happening at that time, a little over 150 years ago. So this Pope is now coming out with essentially a papal encyclical, a huge, thoughtful write-up of, okay, how should we think about, based on faith and morals and tradition and the scriptures, how should we think about this new technology called artificial intelligence? So here's the vice president being asked about that.
Does the government need to create a new mandatory review process for new AI models, given the concerns about mythos? And secondly, in a few days, Pope Leo is going to release his encyclical on artificial intelligence. What influence, if any, do you see the Pope's guidance on AI having to broader society?
Well, I mean, I
what
think
influence, if any? What?
The Pope issues an encyclical on artificial intelligence. It's going to have some influence. I, of course, don't know how much influence. I don't know exactly what it's going to say. But I think when the leader of the world's largest Christian denomination speaks on an issue like that, it's certainly going to have some influence. And I'm sure it'll contain a lot of insights, some of which I'll probably agree with, some of which I may not. But I think that it's going to be a very, very important document. And I think that, one of the things I always found fascinating about Pope Leo is that he chose the name Leo the 14th, which of course is recollecting Leo the 13th. Leo the 13th
I
was
just
the
said
Pope
this, Mr. Vice
during
President.
a period of incredible industrial transformation in the entire world. Of course, that industrial transformation, according to a lot of people, led to the rise of fascism and communism in Europe. I think it was interesting that Leo the 14th chose that name to maybe apply Christian social teaching in a new era with a new technological innovation in the same way that the Industrial Revolution was the technological innovation of its time. So I think it'll be fascinating. I'm looking forward to reading it. My guess is it's going to have a lot of influence. On the question of what our policy is going to be, look, what we're trying to do in the Trump administration is very simple. The president wants us to be pro-innovation. He wants us to win the AI race against all other countries in the world. He recognizes that AI is going to be an important tool, not just for our economy, but for our military. And so he wants to ensure that we are winning that particular race. We also want to make sure that we're protecting people. We're protecting people's data. We're protecting people's privacy. I think with this Mythos release, one of the things that we're very focused on, of course, is whether not necessarily the developers of Mythos, but whether some other bad actor could use Mythos to target various cybersecurity vulnerabilities. So it's something that right now we're working in a collaborative way with the technology companies, and we're just trying to make sure that the American people are as safe as possible. I'm not going to get ahead of the executive order or any other actions that are going to come out, but we're trying to balance those two things. We want to be pro-innovation. We recognize, artificial intelligence could be great. It could help us find cures to diseases that currently, people are dying from or suffering from. It also does have some downsides, and we're trying to balance that safety against innovation. And we think that we've got the right balance here in the Trump administration, but it's something we're going to have to keep on working on because that's just the nature of these technologies is they certainly change.
No, I look forward to the executive order and what the government's going to come up with because it is a tough balance, and I look forward to seeing what the Pope is going to say. And I'm honestly interested in seeing what a lot of people, whether they're the ones creating this stuff or the, say, people examining and using it, or the people that are trying to think about this through a particular moral or traditional framework. I think the more the better. Now, I will say the thing I wrote this week, it was left unsaid because it was already 1,600 words, but one guy that's giving me the creeps a lot, and has since I saw his speech at Davos at the World Economic Forum, is Yuval Harari. Now, I remember reading that book, Sapiens, and about 3/4 through, I'm like, I really don't like this guy. Because he seems to reduce human beings into just information, just conventions. And there's something very dangerous about essentially the way that we think of new AI stuff. This is how this guy thinks of human beings. That they can be used, abused, and manipulated. You just put the right inputs in and you'll get certain outputs out. And perhaps there are ways, obviously, to use and abuse and manipulate human beings, but is there not something truly dignified and divine within everyone? Everyone, even the worst sinner, has a soul. And so I think a clear, bright line is don't let the AI do what human beings ought to rightfully do. And a lot of that comes to, well, questions of prayer and actual love and care for one another. It's one thing for the AI to be able to supplement that love and care. Even supplement your prayer, make you better at it, make you think or examine or meditate in a certain way that leads down the right road. But when you start looking for, say, a human relationship, a loving relationship with something that is not human, or say you want to sign up to be in the Matrix, remember that classic scene? Maybe it's just at my age where the guy wants to be, he's working with the agents and he's like, knows the stake is just, a bunch of code stuff. But I think there are a lot of people that are ready to just sign up to jump into the Matrix, which would be, one of the circles of hell. Anyway, the topic's not going away. And it'll be fascinating to see what the political authorities come up with, as well as leaders in faith and morals. I know there are some folks say, I don't even want to touch it to begin with, and I think that's fair. But I don't think it's inherently evil. It's just another very powerful tool. All the powerful ways it can do good have a lot of powerful ways to lead you down the wrong road and trap you. Anyway, this part of the program brought to you by Alabama Home Mortgage. And they're at Alabama Home Mortgage. Kim Williams and Madeline Cannon are ready to help you with buying a place. Especially if you're a first-time home buyer, potential first-time home buyer. They can help you get pre-approved and walk with you every step of the way, all the way to closing day. Could be you're a procrastinator. Like you're just waiting and you're kind of thinking, you occasionally look online and stuff. Why not go ahead and get pre-approved so you can fully understand how much home you can afford, how much you can buy, so you can, in a responsible way, in a serious way, look at the market instead of just playing around. And of course, if you're looking to get debt off your back or reinvest in your property or use the money that you've built up as equity in your home, check out Alabama Home Mortgage for a great refinance deal. Y'all can always get in touch with them by calling them direct. Start the conversation that way at 567-4223. That's 567-4223. Or you can apply online at myalabamahomemortgage.com. There is a difference in mortgage companies. Let Kim and Madeline prove that to you today. NMLS number 1586368, an equal housing lender.
Want to carry News Talk in your pocket? Download the News Talk 93.1 app from the App Store. Available on iPhone and Android. Never miss a moment. Download now.
Are you tired of the mainstream media's biased reporting? Do you want to stay informed on the news that really matters to you? Look no further than 1819 News. At 1819 News, we bring you the latest in Alabama news, politics, sports, culture, and more. We've assembled a team of journalists with Alabama values dedicated to the truth and the truth alone. Visit us at 1819news.com today. That's 1819news.com. Subscribe to our newsletter. Honest News, Alabama Values.
Trust is the number one reason why a patient chooses a healthcare provider. Adams Drugs has been your trusted healthcare provider since 1962 and has been voted the number one pharmacy in the River region for many years. We strive each and every day to provide you the level of healthcare you have come to expect from Adams Drugs. The employees at Adams Drugs take pride in developing relationships with their patients, from making sure your prescriptions are filled correctly to getting to know you and your family's needs and following up on any questions you may have. Adams Drugs employees deliver top-notch service. We ask you to visit us at any of our locations in Montgomery, Prattville, Wetumpka, Millbrook, and Pine Level Marbury and give us a chance to earn your business. You can find us at adamsdrugs.net for the location that is nearest to you. Adams Drugs is your local, independently owned Health Mart pharmacy. Health Mart, taking the time to listen and care.
At Blue Water Broadcasting, we believe great advertising starts with relationships. That's why so many local business owners trust us, not just for radio, but for digital too. If you're already running digital advertising and you're not seeing results, it may be time to explore your options. Our team takes the time to understand your business, then builds custom campaigns using a multi-channel conversion-focused approach. So whether it's digital display, social media, or you need help increasing your online presence, Blue Water Broadcasting can help. Before your next campaign, let's have a conversation. Visit bluewaterbroadcasting.com.
This hour of news and views is brought to you by our good friends at Alabama Home Mortgage. Alabama Home Mortgage, 567-4223. Visit them on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. NMLS number 1586368. An equal housing lender.
On FM, on your smartphone, and online, the River Region's most trusted voice. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back. Let's go right to the phones and talk to Michael Cohen with Cohen's Electronics and Appliances. Hey, Michael, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm very good. It's let's call it a 7 today out of 10. It's an all right.
It's a 7?
It's a 7.
Well, the elections look like they did pretty good yesterday.
Yeah, we're heading in the right direction. It was refreshing seeing like a guy who's going to be governor that can, actually stand up and give a speech.
Well, that's right. That's right. And I wonder how many Alabama fans voted for him. I know one.
Oh, yeah, there are a few. I think he got 86. Like, he got some ridiculous margin, and I don't know. It's just a heck of a lot better than the current weekend at Bernice's thing we're doing right now.
Well, yeah, and then you got to hope that he just annihilates Doug Jones.
Yeah, he said, I'm not even running against Doug Jones. I'm running against his crazy ideology. I don't know if they even believe in God anymore, folks. My God. I think that's the exact line. So it'll be interesting to see Coach Jett, I think, dominate in that, as well as the other races. Anyway, what's going on there today, Cohen's? Let's tell folks about the Cohen's experience.
Well, I'll tell you, we pre-wired a house for a customer, I don't know, 6 months ago, 8 months ago. Michael Jacks goes out to do some of the install, and we pre-wired for more than what we were selling him. But he did notice that the computer company that did his that does the man's computers at his office also did some of the computers at his home, and someone else has installed cameras. So they install outdoor cameras, and they leave the plastic shipping deal on the cameras. So when you look at the cameras, you're looking through a film.
Yeah.
And as it's been out in the weather for, I don't know, a couple of months now, it's all turning colors and it's cloudy. But it's like nobody takes it to the nth degree when they do their install, like what Michael Jacks does. And of course, if Michael had installed it and it had been any amount of time after the fact that he hadn't pulled the thing off, the customer would have called and we would have sent him out there and he would have pulled the plastic off. But I'm amazed at what people accept from some of these people that do their installs. But, he wants it to be perfect when he leaves, and he wants you to know how to work it, and he wants it to be set up properly. And, he welcomes your calls, but typically he wants your calls to say, we need to add blank. I need 2 more cameras at this area, or I want to do this, or I want to do that, instead of, you didn't do this the right way. And I guess we're blessed beyond what we think with the way that he does these installs. so that we don't have those calls.
Yeah, and I think some folks just don't know, or they said, I'm like, you got to get by Cohen's because y'all ain't going to be beat on price, but you'll never, ever get touched on service. Like what y'all can do, especially even after the sale, and like do it right the first time. And, you know, stuff breaks down the road. That just happens with everything. And y'all are always there at a phone call. What is it, 277-8890?
That's right. And, yeah, we had a nice lady that came in, older lady. She's buying a new TV. Evidently, she had a bad experience with one of the big box stores with a TV. And she came to us and, you know, and we talked about Michael Jackson. He's going to make everything simple and get everything set up with all your passwords. And, you know, just the difference of what he does and the difference of what these other people do, it's just a night and day difference. Of course, he's doing it for selfish reasons because he doesn't want to have to go back out there for free.
Right.
He wants to, you know, if you don't have time to do it right, when do you have time to do it over? And he pretty much tries to stick to that rule of let's get it done the right way the first time.
So, folks, if you're looking for this sort of great service and the many great products on the electronics and the appliance side, just check out Cohen's today. I really encourage you to stop by 2515 Eastern Boulevard here in Montgomery. They're open 9 to 6 Monday through Friday, 9 to 4 on Saturdays. And be sure to find Michael and say, hey, I heard you on that radio show with Joey. Want to see what you can do for me? I'm looking for a TV.
That's right, yeah. Come see us, ask us some questions, let us ask you some questions, and let us help you make the right choice for whatever your needs are, appliances or electronics.
Thanks, Michael.
Have a good day.
You too. Again, that's Michael Cohen with Cohen's Electronics and Appliances. Final hour coming up.
Broadcasting from the Riverside Chevrolet Master Control Center, this is WACV Cusana, News Talk 93.1 FM. When it's Chevy, it's Riverside.
With SRN News, I'm John Scott. President Trump's influence was felt heavily in primary elections throughout the country yesterday. Trump-endorsed candidates won in Kentucky, Texas, and Georgia. Federal prosecutors have announced charges against former Cuban President Raul Castro in the 1996 downing of civilian planes operated by Miami-based exiles. The charges marked a major escalation in the Trump administration's efforts to dismantle 7 decades of single-party rule in the Caribbean island. Barney Frank has died. The longtime Democratic congressman from Massachusetts died late Tuesday. He was 86. The South Carolina House has endorsed a plan to redraw its congressional districts to favor Republicans at the urging of President Trump. The chamber voted on a new congressional map, sending it to the state Senate. On Wall Street, the Dow's ahead 583 points. This is SRN News.
I talked to a lot of great companies. Very few of them actually literally surprised me, but Fellowship Home Loans sure did. For over 20 years, Mike and Brian and the team there have been helping families do something most people think is more complicated than it has to be. Get into a home, lower their rate, or tap into equity they didn't even realize they had. Everything at Fellowship is done in-house. One roof, one great team, all with a servant-led mentality. From your first phone call to closing, you're going to get people who know you by name. They'll know your situation. They treat you like family. They're also offering a free mortgage checkup right now. Don't miss out. Rates are lower now than if you purchased or refinanced your home in the last few years. Many Fellowship customers are saving hundreds of dollars a month when refinancing, and there are no payments for 2 months. Go to fellowshiphomeloans.com/Mike G, fellowshiphomeloans.com/Mike G, or call 800-510-MIKE, 800-510-6453. Fellowship Home Loans, mortgage lending by the book.
Nationwide Mortgage Bankers, DBA Fellowship Home Loans, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS number 8193.
Weather, a service of H&H Carpets, where right now, get a load of this, listen close, you get a house full of carpet for $19.95 installed. Unbelievable. They're located at 6450 Atlanta Highway, just across from Walmart.
Rich Thomas weather.
Well, hi, everybody. No big surprises in our forecast. Warm and humid again today with a high temperature right around 90. A sun and cloud mix with maybe a few pop-up afternoon and evening showers and storms, which fade out later on in the evening hours. Some neighborhoods get wet, others stay dry, and not Much day-to-day change Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, right on through the Memorial Day weekend. Highs in the upper 80s, lows at night right around 70 with scattered random storms here and there. Don't last long, and many towns stay dry. A pretty routine summer forecast. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
Big dreams for your home on a tight budget? ASE's $26.26 as you covered. Unlock your home's equity with just $26 in closing costs. No fees, no headaches. Visit your local ASE branch today. Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Lender. NMLS number 420259.
1819 News.
A retired Air Force major who also served as a substitute teacher in many states has been officially indicted for production and possession of child sex abuse material. 63-year-old Daniel Brown was first arrested by Leeds police on January 1st of this year. The U.S. attorney in this case said that Brown has lived in multiple states prior to living in Leeds, and the victims on videos and images that were seized have not all been identified, nor are they victims from the Leeds area. I'll be back with more Alabama stories after this.
Some of the greatest blessings is just having people that care about you, to have someone that's just going to love you and make you feel important. They encourage you to be in church. They encourage you to be in prayer. They encourage you to be in your Bible. Now it's a part of my day every day. My house parents planted seeds in me that you can see where those seeds have sprouted in my life and helped change my life.
Big Oak Ranch, a Christian home for children needing a chance.
The Scottsboro police have reported to WAFF News that a recent cybersecurity attack was uncovered and thwarted in that department before it could happen. The police say that no encrypted information was accessed or downloaded. Efforts are now underway to reinforce the security and integrity of the police department systems. A lightning strike occurred on Tuesday and started a fire within a gas line in the Pinson area. The gas company shut down the line so that fire crews could secure the leak, which caused the fire. Fire crews say there were no injuries or structural damages. And the body of a missing boater on Lake Guntersville has been found on the third day of searching. Jeremiah Gamble went missing on Sunday afternoon near Goat Island. He was on a pontoon boat when he jumped into the water and never resurfaced. Multiple law enforcement agencies have been involved in this search. I'm Andrea Tice.
For more news affecting Alabamians, go to 1819news.com. And while you're there, subscribe to the daily newsletter.
This hour of News and Views is brought to you by our good friends at Cole Plumbing, 279-8919. Cole Plumbing is number one in the number two business. You don't have to dig a hole. They have proprietary pipelining technology. Ask them about their tankless water heaters. Remember, when you have trouble with your bowl, call on Cole.
You want your floors to scream new, fresh, and stylish. But if yours are groaning, tired, old, and outdated, you're in luck. Because at Prattville Carpet, you can revitalize your floors while you save on the best brands available with perfect and professional installation and Prattville's unbeatable lifetime warranty.
Hi, I'm Ray Bowles from Prattville Carpet. If you're looking for carpet, hardwood, laminate, vinyl plank, or ceramic tile, call us today for your free measurement.
Start shopping for your floors right now at PrattvilleCarpet.com.
Prattville Carpet, we're more than just carpet.
Starting a business shouldn't feel overwhelming. At Juandalynn Gulf Coast, we give you a clear, proven path to ownership. You receive guaranteed initial counts, local support, and the training you need to succeed from day one. For over 35 years, we've helped people turn steady careers into thriving businesses, and you could be next. Start your journey today at JuandallynnCleans.com.
The views and opinions of the following program are solely those of the host and other contributors. These do not necessarily represent those of Liberty Acquisitions 825, Blue Water Broadcasting, its management, staff, or any advertisers. It's time for Montgomery's conversational radio show. It's News and Views on News Talk 93.1 FM. To join the conversation, call 272-9228.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back. I'm your host, Joey Clark. Good to have a studio audience. Eddie's not here, but I ain't alone, folks. And I'm not just talking about Jesus. But one story caught my eye, because I'll just be straight up. I haven't made it my life's mission to figure out why exactly did my mom get brain cancer and die from it. But it's been a question in my mind of what happened there, and could there possibly ever be a cure for something like what killed her? Because we tried a lot of different stuff and it didn't work. And you got to wonder, where does it come from? How do you stop it if, God forbid, somebody else in our family gets it? Is it genetic? What is it? Well, I just saw this headline. A single molecule just shut down the gene behind the deadliest brain cancer in mice, and it did it without one harmful side effect. Glioblastoma. What killed my mother, I believe, killed Beau Biden. It's killed a lot of people. Glioblastoma kills roughly 10,000 Americans every year. Patients diagnosed with a recurrence after standard chemotherapy face a median survival measure in months, not years. And the drug they rely on most eventually stops working in the majority of cases. In May 2026, a preclinical study is drawing renewed attention for offering something the field rarely sees, a compound that appears to destroy glioblastoma that is resistant to the traditional treatments in mice without producing a single observed harmful side effect. The compound is called KL50, and it was developed by a team of chemists and cancer biologists at Yale University led by Seth Herzon. Their work, published in peer-reviewed research and summarized by the National Institutes of Health, showed that KL50 shrank aggressive brain tumors' growth from patient tissue samples in mice, including tumors that had already become resistant to the traditional treatment. No human trial has begun, but the precision of the killing mechanism and the clean safety profile in animals have made this one of the most closely watched molecules in neuro-oncology research. So maybe it's a breakthrough. Now, it's still early. You're doing this in mice. And this article I'm reading from gets into all the particular science of why this might work. But especially for folks where there is a recurrence, you do everything. You try the traditional approach. Temozolomide. And it doesn't work. It is months. And it's also, anybody knows of, those 10,000 who die a year, the person loses their mind before you completely lose them. So it's like you're losing them in bits and pieces. It's just an awful disease. And so if there is a breakthrough, and I think it would be a gift from God. Sometimes God puts these sufferings in our way in order so we might all share in his greater glory. Oh, let me put it this way. In fact, at morning mass, the priest's homily, shout out to Father Joseph, touched on this, not brain cancer, but this idea of do you think the point of the gospel is to be happy all the time? For all your wants to be satisfied in the way you want them satisfied? No. That ain't the point of it. The point of the gospel is Christ and turning to him and following him in his will. And despite some folks who will try to sell to you, that means life will always be a ball and be grand. They're lying. But I've come to a point in my life where I think of the awful suffering. I used to not be able to think of it at all without getting very emotional and hurting myself again, so to speak. But I've come to a point in life to realize that a lot of the suffering my mother went through, and folks who go through that, and you wonder, why is this happening to this particular person I love, and this seems so unfair, and all the different emotions, the anger, the denial of it, the bargaining with God. You realize that, our Lord and Savior shared in that suffering. In fact, suffered in ways that I don't think we, even those who suffer the worst diseases and the most unfair, just harsh fates, could quite comprehend. That our Lord and Savior sweat blood that on the cross, he asked his Father, why have you forsaken me? Entered into death itself. And then, yes, rose. And so it's a tradition in Christianity very early on. And you see this in the Acts of the Apostles, that you start to notice that the followers of Jesus, there's almost these patterns return where they're persecuted in similar ways and also put to death. And the martyrs share in the suffering of Christ on the cross. And they would think of it as, especially as they're spreading across Rome, what greater honor could you get than to share in that suffering that he suffered? Especially when you are innocent in the sense of you didn't bring on a certain disease yourself, or you don't deserve to be put to death by some corrupt authority. And though it doesn't put people's emotions at ease, you got to wonder, why do certain diseases exist? Well, the answer is so they can be cured. And that is a gift from the Lord above as well. So I hope this KL50 actually is a breakthrough. Very early in the process, like I said. It's one thing for this to work on mice. Human beings are, well, there's a reason we use mice, but we're literally a different animal. And I'll continue to pray, though. Like I said, I don't make it my life's mission. Like, I'm not smart enough, don't have the type of mind or gifts to do research like this and whatnot. To be that meticulous in understanding how to test things and find possible cures. But I have long hoped and prayed that even if I never fully understand why it happened to her and why it happens to others, that one day a cure will be brought about. Anyway, I was telling my studio audience I didn't know what I was going to talk about. But I guess that's what I chose to talk about to begin this hour. 272-9228. Let's shift to something a little less heavy. Though, to some, it's pretty heavy. There's a woman in Cook County, Illinois, in Chicago. And I think her name's Jessica. She's actually a Flip Chicago Red activist. So, 63-year-old black woman. And she spoke at a city council meeting because there are so many people upset and acting like pharaohs back in town. Let my people go. I'm like, really? Really? Are you sure? Well, Jessica here, she speaks out. Let's listen in to what she had to say to all the folks raising a little hell about Donald Trump taking away your right to vote and yada, 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 yada.
The reality is this. Black people's voting is not in danger, and you know it's not. And you know it's not. I'm 63 years old. I've been voting since I was 18. I have never had a problem voting. Now, that may apply to my mother and father. It applies to my grandparents. Surely it does. And in fact, because it does, every single person in this room, including that Jewish lady that just got up and talked, need to really be thanking us. Really need to be thanking us for getting y'all the right to vote, for getting y'all the right to be here, instead of sitting up here manipulating the Voting Rights Act like something's getting ready to happen to our right to vote, when you know that's not true. So now you all gonna drag black people in here, definitely some senior citizens, and gonna have them come up here and talk about how they scared to vote, how this messed up their right to vote, women need to vote, all that junk, when you know it's not true. Just like you sit up here and make like black people can't get IDs. Us requiring IDs to vote, it's gonna stop black people from voting. Why black people ain't got IDs? See, you all get more and more ridiculous. But you can't, in this room full of these black people, talk about that federal case that just got filed Monday that's talking about how you all are stealing property at Cook County sales. Where the black people in here? Raise your hand that if they told you to come in here to talk about how your property got stolen. Where you at? Huh? Because we got commissioners in here that know for a fact it's happening. Catskill, you know it's happening. Lori, you know it's happening. Michael Scott, you know it's happening. Lamont Williams, come on, you give up cases for the county. You know it's happening. Donna Miller, you know what's happening. Well, come on, y'all black people that they done sent here with these 501c3s, that they got y'all in here talking for them. Why y'all ain't in here talking about how they stealing our property?
1 minute.
Where y'all at? Come on, because y'all getting ready to come up here to this mic and lie for the cameras to say that black people's voting is done by this Louisiana thing and Donald Trump and the Trump administration, when Donald Trump is in front of the Supreme Court right now fighting for the 14th Amendment, saying that black people, that amendment was for black people.
30 seconds.
Not for birthrights, not for people to anchor themselves over here illegally. And they got y'all black people in here getting ready to talk against him. I mean, y'all real sick up in the head. You sick in the head and more sicker in your spirit. This is insane.
Time has expired for the speaker. Next
Y'all
speaker.
crazy.
Taiwan Singh.
Crazy. Yeah, it is a little crazy. I just wanted to share that because, well, it went viral, and I generally agree. I may not have put it in the same exact way, but I generally get her point. And I think there's the performative aspect of the politics. You take a good thing, and why is it a performative thing still? Because, like, there's some folks who did that performance that was actually effective and perhaps good. And it did a good thing, but it's not just, it did a good thing. It's like, it also, like, worked. It worked that one time. So if you do that thing that worked that one time again, maybe it'll work again. And people just can't give it up. Anyway. I found her mockery also a bit fun. I have to admit it. I admit it. That said, maybe to tie all this together, especially because politics is more and more, and right, left, this is a generalized point, performative grievance. Now, there are often real grievances that also make for great TV or an internet video or whatever, a viral video. But there's a lot of politics that is just the performance of grievance. And tying back to the first thing I started with this hour, at least I personally am making it a point, and maybe I'll be tested in this. But what if instead of just thanking God for a great day, for the blessings we have in life, for the people we love and all the good things, whether it's the sun shining or having a place to live that's safe and secure, or all the beautiful, bountiful things that we have in modern living. All things you should thank God for. Give it up to God for that. But what if instead of just thanking God for the good that comes our way and the joys and happiness of our life, we thank Him for our suffering as well? That we thank Him for our trials. And though we might still see that we do need to grieve, we do need to correct a wrong, correct an injustice, we do need to cure diseases and all these things, but we should keep perspective and thank Him for the trials and the suffering nonetheless. Anyway, enough of that. Not trying to be preachy or anything today, folks. I'm not trying to be preachy at all. Just trying to take this young man to church for a second. We got to hit a break. We'll be right back.
He may not know whether he's coming or going, but whether you're going to work or coming home, Greg Budell is there. Mornings, 6 till 9, and afternoons, 3 till 6. Only on News Talk 93.1 FM, WACV.
2026 marks 60 years that hope has had a home in Alabama. At the Alabama Sheriff's Youth Ranches, children who've lost everything through no fault of their own have found something priceless. a safe place to live, a loving Christian family, and the chance to simply be kids again. Here, boys and girls grow up surrounded by care, guidance, and faith, learning right from wrong, learning responsibility, learning they are valued and that their lives have purpose. As the Alabama sheriffs have believed for 6 decades, it's easier to build boys and girls than to repair men and women. These former ranchers are now teachers, parents, business owners, and leaders, living proof that love, structure, and faith can change a life forever. As the Alabama Sheriff's Youth Ranches celebrate 60 years of serving Alabama's children, you can help ensure the next child has the same chance. Learn how you can make a difference at alabamasheriffsyouthranches.org. 60 years of building lives, and we're just getting started.
For many homeowners, there's untapped reserves hiding in plain sight. It's not in the savings account. It's not in the stock market. It's right under your roof. Now more than ever, homeowners are sitting on record levels of home equity, and that equity belongs to you. It can be used to consolidate high-interest credit card debt, to pay expensive school tuition, to cover medical expenses, to invest in renovations, you name it, because that money is yours. This isn't about taking on unnecessary debt. It's about using an asset you already own to improve your financial position and your quality of life. The key is understanding your options and choosing the strategy that fits your goals. Let's see what's possible with the equity in your home. Give us a call at Alabama Home Mortgage today at 334-567-4223 or visit us online at myalabamahomemortgage.com. That's Alabama Home Mortgage, because there is a difference in mortgage companies. NMLS 1586368, Equal Housing Lender.
For too long, Alabama's statewide news companies have shamed us for our conservative Christian values. Alabama deserves a news company that cherishes our culture, a company that isn't bought and paid for by the powers that be. 1819 News is that company. Run by Alabamians for Alabamians, 1819 News celebrates what is good and beautiful about our state, while exposing those who work against our values in secret. Just go to 1819news.com to learn more. Subscribe to our newsletter. That's 1819news.com. This hour of News and Views is brought to you by our good friends at Cole Plumbing, 279-8919. Cole Plumbing is number 1 in the number 2 business. You don't have to dig a hole. They have proprietary pipelining technology. Ask them about their tankless water heaters. Remember, when you have trouble with your bowl, call on Cole.
When news happens, you'll hear about it first. The River Region's most trusted voice. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Joey Clark.
What am I seeing up there on the screen? Putting billionaire Zionists in prison does not mean putting all Jews in internment camps. Whew. Democrat Texas congressional candidate. All right, then. You know, I have plenty of criticism for the state of Israel. As you know, I think anybody who looks at politics it's an interesting place and plays, I think, an outsized role in a lot of ways. But that's a little much right there. But, by the way, don't mess with Trump, boomers, and Israel, or else you'll end up like Thomas Massie. Which, I mean, you'll lose your seat after they spend, I think it was the most expensive House race ever. And they beat Thomas Massie. Now, I was rooting for Massie to win because as much as I love Trump, sometimes it's nice that Daddy doesn't get everything he wants, if that makes any sense. It's kind of like, hey, and so why maybe I want Barry Moore to win. Maybe a certain mother in the state shouldn't get everything she wants. I can put it that way. So, you know, sometimes they get what they want anyway. That said, when I saw somebody breaking down the numbers. Massie won every age group under 65. but it was boomers, 65 plus. Money from, yes, like, let's say AIPAC, and then sort of like, yes, folks who are very much looking out for Israel and their interest as they understand it. And Donald Trump himself, who I think tried to, and did successfully, not just tried, he pulled it off, made Massie the poster boy of don't come at me or I will destroy you and ruin you. Now, Thomas Massie out of that is going to probably run for president, and because I think because you just heard me quote that Democrat that Fox was running. There is a certain vibe, certain zeitgeist right now in the culture that isn't always explicitly political when you just look at who are the popular people online, who are driving the conversations with the younger folks. And it is, well, there's a reason Massie did well with those 65 and younger. So it could be 2 years ahead, 4 years ahead, however long it takes. There are changes happening. And I'm not saying they're good. I'm just saying change is coming, folks. It's coming. Maybe this is Trump is the sort of last hurrah here. Now, speaking of Trump and needing to get another thing done, Trump told reporters earlier today, that his administration is in the quote-unquote final stages of negotiations with Iran. This is according to a press pool report. Trump has repeatedly made these optimistic statements about reaching a deal with Iran and a quick end to the war, only for tensions to escalate again. But U.S. crude oil prices fell below $100 per barrel today after Trump said those talks with Iran are in the final stages. Trump said earlier this week that he called off renewed military strikes against Iran to give more time for diplomacy at the request of Gulf Arab allies. He told reporters Wednesday that the administration is in the final stages of negotiations with Iran. Trump has repeatedly made optimistic statements, but, like I said, and they just haven't come through. And it's been a sort of stalemate now for weeks as Tehran blockades the Strait of Hormuz and Washington blockades Iranian ports. You think you can blockade, I can blockade, even better, which is kind of a genius move. Oh, you think you're going to put me in a chokehold? What if I put you, me, everybody in a chokehold? I'll just do it. Doesn't bother me. I can survive. Citibank warned Tuesday that the market is underpricing the risk of long disruption in oil supplies in the Strait of Hormuz. Expects Brent to trade up to $120 per barrel in the near term. Oh, my God, I hope not. Oil prices could approach $200 per barrel. No. I'm not usually one to complain because I got a little Kia. So, even when gas prices this high, it's like, it's expensive, but it's also not like I'm filling up a big old truck. But if it gets up $200 a barrel, even Kia owners are going to be like, stop it. Heck, even Tesla owners are going to be like, stop it, because it's going to affect the price of everything under the sun in the larger economy. So hopefully this isn't just optimistic posturing from Trump. And perhaps there is some hope in the sense that it was Saudi and the Gulf Arabs who are much more, I think, you shouldn't completely trust them, but much more trustworthy than the Pakistanis leading as the middlemen and mediators. Could be you actually have a breakthrough. And I believe I saw a report earlier today that suggested Israel and the U.S. wanted to reinstate Ahmadinejad to run Iran after killing the Ayatollah. Yeah, Ahmadinejad. An Israeli-developed plan called for installing Iran's Holocaust-denying former President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad as the country's new leader after the killing of Ali Khamenei and other top Iranian officials at the end of February. This is according to the New York Times. So, take it for what it's worth. But having Ahmadinejad take power was one of the stages in Israel's envisioned multi-phase plan for the war, the report said, citing U.S. officials' briefs on the plan. The plan's first phase was the U.S.-Israeli aerial campaign that killed top Iranian officials, including the supreme leader, together with an intended mobilization of Kurdish forces, though the latter never materialized. Yeah, it's almost like the Kurds have been stabbed in the back too many times. Like, we'll take your weapons, but we ain't going to march on Tehran. Israel believed that the invasion and strikes would destabilize the regime, with political pressure and damage to key infrastructure causing it to collapse. Then a quote-unquote alternative government would be able to take charge, the report said. The Mossad spy agency declined to comment. Yeah, of course they did. The Times said a report A reported strike on Ahmadinejad's residence during the war's opening salvo, originally assumed to target the ex-leader himself, was in fact directed at the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps officers enforcing his regime-imposed house arrest. Interesting. Ahmadinejad was consulted about the plan, according to the Times, though the manner of his recruitment remains unknown. The attack succeeded in freeing the ex-president, but it wounded him in the process, after which he reportedly became disillusioned with the scheme. Wait. So we're going to make you president, but we're going to have to, kill the people that are doing your house, keeping you in house arrest. And then when they kill they also hurt. Yeah, I can see why he lost. He lost faith in the scheme. An associate of Ahmadinejad said the U.S. hoped the ex-president would play a very important role in the country's near future with the capacity to manage its political, social, and military situation. You know what he went to school for? Why do I remember this from all the years ago? What did Mahmoud Ahmadinejad go to university to study? Traffic. Yeah, you usually think of the guy as I'm going to nuke Israel or whatever. But he went to school to study traffic, traffic patterns, how to best manage major metropolitan roadways. Got to watch out for the nerds, I'm just telling you, folks, especially those nerds with engineering minds that want to make the trains run on time. Anyway, crazy scheme. I don't know if it's true. Could be just the New York Times going for clicks. But honestly, from other reporting, it sounds like the scheme, in particular Mossad, had worked up. The Israelis had worked up. But we'll see if there are going to be any breakthroughs and actual peace being reached. That said, got to hit another break. We'll be right back after this.
Want to carry News Talk in your pocket? Download the News Talk 93.1 app from the App Store. Available on iPhone and Android. Never miss a moment. Download now.
This is your roving reporter. Today I'm talking with a prospector. That's right, man. I'm prospecting for gold. You dig? No, but it looks like you do. And you know the first thing I'm going to do when I strike it rich? What's that? I'm going to hire David Ernest to be my money man. You mean everyone's favorite asset preservationist? That is correct, man. I'm going to call him up at 833-596-7233. 833-596-SAFE. You know, I've heard a lot of good things about David Ernest. You know, he's the best money man around with over 40 years of experience. Experience is necessary, especially when you're digging for gold. That's right, man. And I can see that you don't have very much experience. What do you mean, man? Well, you have the little plastic bucket and shovel like a kid would take to the beach. Yeah, man, well, I want to start out small and then kind of pace myself up until I strike it rich. Well, maybe you should call David Ernest first. You think he's got a shovel? Never know till you ask. I dig, man.
We get this question all the time.
Do you handle that?
Buying or selling a home?
Yes.
Commercial?
Yes.
Land or investments?
Absolutely. Hannah and Eddie Realty Group. One team.
Every real estate move. 334-322-0662.
Hi, I'm Doug Tullis with Eclectic Coins, 543 Northeastern Boulevard. Since I've partnered with Blue Water Broadcasting, my business has grown more than I could ever imagine. If you're looking to grow your business, please consider giving Blue Water Broadcasting a call. They work for me. I know they'll work for you.
Our advertisers are our biggest advocates. Call us to find out how radio can increase your bottom line. Blue Water Broadcasting. Local folks, helping local business.
This hour of News and Views is brought to you by our good friends at Cole Plumbing, 279-8919. Cole Plumbing is number one in the number two business. You don't have to dig a hole. They have proprietary pipelining technology. Ask them about their tankless water heaters. Remember, when you have trouble with your bowl, call on Cole.
Rich Thomas Weather is brought to you by Wiley Sanders Truck Lines.
Truckers, listen up. A $2,500 sign-on bonus only at Wiley Sanders Truck Lines. Work for a company that puts God and family first. 855-777-9785. Wiley Sanders Truck Lines.
Rich Thomas Weather.
It's just May, but it's a forecast that sounds more like July. A few random pop-up storms into the evening hours before they fade out. Overnight low temperature down to about 70. And then no surprises. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, right on through the Memorial Day weekend through Monday. A mixture of sun and clouds each day. Highs mostly in the upper 80s. Lows at night around 70. And scattered pop-up random showers and storms mostly in the afternoon and evening hours. typical summertime forecast. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
The premier place the River Region turns to for news, weather, traffic, and opinion. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back. Now, why would somebody hosting a radio show that's supposed to be about Montgomery, though I find most of the Montgomery stuff just boring, so like maybe I should not. Maybe that's a flaw. Maybe I should be hyper-focused on the hyper-local nonsense and good things that go on in this town. So why would a Montgomery-based radio show host play a clip about the Los Angeles mayor's race? Why? Because it's entertaining as hell. It's funny. And this is CNN. They sat down with Mayor Karen Bass. And they actually asked a pretty good question. Now, I have to say, from the cheap seats, it doesn't matter really. But to my day today. But Spencer Pratt's campaign has been remarkable. And to see that sort of using new technology, using very ingenious powers of persuasion, to see what they've been spinning up, and maybe the guy's got a chance, it's at least fun to watch. So let's listen in. This is Karen Bass sitting down with CNN, and she's asked about homelessness and promises she made about, or are they calling them the unhoused? I'm not sure.
When you talked to Jake Tapper in 2023, you said that your goal was to end street homelessness in LA by 2026. It's now 2026.
And we haven't ended it.
We have not ended it, and we're not close to ending it.
No, we're not.
How are you so off?
Well, basically, when I said that, it was at the beginning of my term. I am very committed to achieving that goal. I didn't anticipate some of the bureaucratic barriers that I would experience, but I am prepared to take those on now. And let me just give you an example. Los Angeles made a decision probably 20, 25 years ago to not address street homelessness.
Hold on. I promise to end this, to end homelessness by 2026. It is now 2026. It is not ended. But what I didn't do is I am now much more willing to take on the bureaucratic things that are in our way. And let me tell you a story about what happened starting 25 years ago. What a joke. We don't believe you. I don't even live there, and we don't believe you. Like, if you were serious about it, you would have started tackling not just one or two little examples, but the whole fundamental root of why this is such a huge problem now. And you would have probably started that on day one of becoming mayor of the second biggest American city. And yet you didn't. And now, because you're getting some pressure from a guy who's using some very clever AI videos, you're now saying, well, I'm seeing the light. I'm going to take on the bureaucratic rot that's holding us back. No, you're not. You'll probably create more. And that's the deal, is there are a lot of folks, especially in that part of the world, where it is, what have I heard it as? Well, one thing is telescopic charity. So it's like everybody looks at the problem from afar, like you're looking at it through a telescope. And you send money to the cause, and you donate to help with the cause, but you don't want to have to see them up close and personal. You don't want to have to, sorry to sound too much like George Orwell, smell the homeless people. And at the same time, the people that are taking all your money and solving the problem, quote unquote, supposedly solving that issue of being unhoused, which sounds worse than homeless. I'm sorry. It just does, even though it was meant to be more politically correct. They take your money. They don't want to actually solve the problem. Why? Because then you're not going to give them any money. We solved the problem. We fixed it. We don't need as much anymore. Which means whatever amount of salary you're getting or sort of perks or benefits you're charging to the nonprofit or whatever it is you're running, well, that goes kaput, and you now have to go get a new gig. People don't want to do that. This is an industry, baby. It's an industry. And that's where it's crazy. We are called by our Lord and Savior to take care of those who are without, the homeless. We're not called to be like Judas with our hand in the poor box and the money bag. No. But I think there's a lot of that going on. And there's these entire industries where just somehow one of the biggest cities in the world with buku-doodles of taxpayer dollars coming in and being spent, because it's not like they're holding back on the socialism out there in the public spending. They just can't seem to solve the issue. Wow, it's corrupt. I really think the problem with Los Angeles is it's kind of like what that lady in Chicago was saying. But especially true of Los Angeles when you see some of what comes out of there. It is a spiritual problem. The so-called City of Angels has really been taken over by literal demons. Literal demons. Not just like, oh, I'm saying a mean word because I don't like a politician. No, like literal demons running that place. So maybe, you shouldn't get your hopes up too much, but maybe Spencer Pratt can help exorcise the City of Angels. We'll see. He's running a heck of a campaign. He might be very well able to pull it off. And the homelessness issue is one of the main issues. But then also, all these people had their houses burned down. Number one, because they didn't do the proper precautions beforehand. Number two, you can't rebuild because of, well, like homelessness, all the bureaucratic blockage. Interesting. 272-9228 if you want to get in on the conversation. It's been a quiet day on the phones, and that's fine. But in a second, we're going to have Ray Bowles on the phone. Yeah. Looking forward to talking to Ray, see what he's been doing today. Maybe he's been working, maybe not. You never know with Ray. We'll be right back.
He may not know whether he's coming or going, but whether you're going to work or coming home, Greg Budell is there. Mornings, 6 till 9, and afternoons, 3 till 6. Only on News Talk 93.1 FM, WACV.
Hi, I'm Mark DePlanche with Admiral Movers. People ask, what makes Admiral Movers different from other movers? It's simple. We take pride in caring for our team, so we know that they will take care of you. All of our team members are Admiral employees. They are all fully background checked and trained in-house. We never hire day laborers. So for your next move, whether it's a commercial move or household move, across town or across the country, call Montgomery's favorite movers, Admiral Movers. Mention code SUMMER10 to save 10% on your next move.
This hour of news and views is brought to you by our good friends at Cole Plumbing, 279-8919. Cole Plumbing is number one in the number two business. You don't have to dig a hole. They have proprietary pipelining technology. Ask them about their tankless water heaters. Remember, when you have trouble with your bowl, call on Cole.
Trustworthy, accurate, immediate. Carrying your voice across the river region. News Talk 93.1 FM, WACV.
Joey Clark.
I don't know why that just stopped working all of a sudden. But welcome back. It's not his fault. But let's go to the phones and talk to Ray Bowles from Prattville Carpet. Hey, Ray, how you doing?
Man, I've been good. Trying to listen to y'all all day, but my phone won't quit ringing, so I don't know what y'all are talking about.
Oh, I'm all over the place. I was just talking about that mayor's race, and, you know, it doesn't really matter for us here in Alabama, but it is entertaining to watch the Looney Tunes that are running that place.
Great entertainment. I mean, it's better than anything on TV right now.
Better than the Oscars.
It is absolutely. Who would have ever thought that Spencer Pratt, that was everybody was supposed to hate when we were younger, because Angie loves watching that stuff.
Right.
I can't. It's like fingers to a chalkboard to me. I just go in the other room. But I'm like, oh, I hope he wins this thing. He is absolutely wonderful. After this, he ought to run for governor.
It's fantastic. And heck, you might even get a Republican that does well in the governor's race out there. Oh, by the way, Mark and his lovely mother are here in the studio with me.
Hey, Jane, how you doing? You gonna do the ad today? No, she's shaking her head. I can see her now. She's shaking her head.
And they're hoping to see you at church this Sunday, they said.
Yeah, I will be there Sunday. So we missed last Sunday. We were in Savannah, so I didn't see him last Sunday, but we'll definitely be there this Sunday. And talking about this weekend, it's Memorial Day, so we're going to close Saturday and Monday this week, guys.
Okay.
So if you need a floor, call us at 285-8117. Get us out tomorrow, the next day. We'll be glad to get those measurements. Let's keep the samples over the long weekend, and then we'll go from there.
Again, that's 285-8117. And be sure to tell me you heard Ray Bowles on the radio with Joey Clark fella. And, you know, what did you think as a guy who used to be in, kind of still in politics, but a guy who used to be on the city council, of all the politicking and results we saw last night?
You know, I wasn't too surprised with everything. I feel like Barry Moore's probably going to run away with it.
Yeah.
With all the crypto money behind him. Which I've always liked Barry Moore. Him and Mom have always been really close. But, man, the crypto money scares me.
Yeah.
I don't want to go crypto. I like cash. I like reaching in my wallet, pulling out cash, and handing it to somebody and knowing what I have on hand.
I see, but it's like trade-offs. I think you're right on the cash and, like, having the cash in your hand, but I would prefer the crypto over, say, a Visa card.
But, you know, see, I bought $750 worth of crypto a couple of years ago that my buddy talked me into doing.
Mm-hmm.
And all he said is, I'm telling you, you're going to thank me one day. And every time I look at it, it's $89 now, and I've never touched it.
I guess it wasn't Bitcoin.
I screenshot it. Yeah, I'll screenshot it, send it to him, and say, thank you. Greatest recommendation ever.
No, actually, some of the reforms they're doing, some of the payment processing, like a lot of small businesses really want it because the processing fees on things like credit cards are going to be not 3.25%. They're going to be under 1%. Like, so it'll be a great way. In fact, the guy who runs Prevail Union, the coffee place, wrote an op-ed calling on Senator Britt to pass a lot of the Clarity Act for that reason alone, saying their biggest line item on, if it was an employee, it would be the highest paid employee were the processing fees to credit card companies. So I think it's actually, we should not get rid of cash. I agree with you 100%, but I think there's a lot of value to the crypto thing. Now, do they also get into the gambling side of things and the prediction markets? And is somebody come up with some crazy scheme like blow up the economy in 08? Perhaps, but like the basic trade-offs, I actually think it's an improvement.
And see, I know in my world, like our credit card fees are only 0.5%. It's not 3%.
And
so that's why I don't charge people 3% to use their credit card. But I think our world's a little different because our charges are so high.
Right.
Like most of our charges are going to be $5,000 or $6,000 because of flooring.
Right.
And it's not a cup of coffee for $3.
Right. That makes sense.
But there again, that dovetails into something. If you do want to use your credit card and we do a job, we don't charge you 3%.
Amen.
We're what do they call it? Handling fee or whatever it is. I'm not going to do that to you. We'll take care of you. So if y'all need a floor, call us 285-8117, and we'll be glad to come out and give you that measurement.
Again, that's 285-8117. Appreciate it, Ray.
Guys, have a great day.
You too. Let's go to line 2. You're on there. Is this?
Hey, this is Sam calling from Pike County.
Hey, Sam. How are you?
Good and bad, brother. I'm having sciatica.
Oh, no.
Joey, I did something stupid over the weekend. I have to, it's the man in me occasionally. the little mobile phone game. And I just sat curled up too long with the phone, and here we are, doing the exercises and trying to stretch out. But that's neither here nor there. What it finally hit me though, when I was watching Mayor Bass, and she's carrying on. She is the LA's version of the Kay Ivey effect. You know, she was elected to rule the city and bring in the Olympics and not cause trouble and be low key. And you know, she's got that little giggle. Remind me of that woman who interviewed Kavanaugh years ago. I can't remember her name. Dang it. All right. I just want to call and say good afternoon.
Yeah.
And, but I heard you earlier talking about the prescription drugs, and I don't understand how people pay for it, man. The VA. I see my primary physician tomorrow, and I'm in about $1,400 a month is what the VA is for my medications, and I consider myself in halfway good shape. So I don't know.
And by the way, you know, Karen Bass, it was when Joe Biden said, I'm going to pick a VP that's a black woman. Like, he just put it out there. They're like, well, there's only so many folks that might. And so it was either Kamala or Karen Bass. Those were clearly the two front runners. So, man, he had winners to choose from across the board.
Yeah, it did take long to think up some jokes on that. Look at you, Karen Bass. My memory of Karen Bass. I remember when she was sitting across her and her lawyers. Donald Trump was asking her questions, and why did you do this? And she's agreeing with him. And finally, her lawyer, she's reached over and turned off her microphone. Do you remember that? A few years ago.
Vaguely, yeah.
Vaguely, yeah, man. So she was there just to ride it out. I do believe. Brother, that's all I got. I be in Montgomery tomorrow. So.
Well, good luck.
Yeah.
Safe travels.
I'm going to have a walking stick with me. All right. Love y'all.
Appreciate it, Sam. Love you too. 272-9228. But, you know, I got to say, maybe I'm a little too quick to write off the Democrats. Because, well, here's Hakeem Jeffries. And, you know, it doesn't mean you have to become a Democrat. Maybe you should take them more seriously. Because when you hear them, like, if you actually listen to them, you might be able to, like, you know, find a little bit of intimidation factor, enough to at least give you anxiety to inspire you to fight yourself. Like, so for instance, like this clip of Hakeem Jeffries.
I guess part of how we as House Democrats view this moment, either MAGA extremists are going to break the country or we're going to break them. And our goal is to break them. We will defeat them. We have to beat them electorally, and then we have to break their spirit because of the extremism that's being unleashed on the American people. That's completely and totally unacceptable.
I think he's projecting. You ain't breaking our spirit, dude. Let's go to line one. You're on there. Who's us? Hey.
You. Hey, man.
Hey, Randall.
I just wanted to tell you, I tuned in by the time you started talking, the time you got pretty deep. And I'm going to tell you, most men couldn't agree the way you agreed when your mom passed. The way you came straight on back and was here on this radio dial, and it was amazing. I just tell you that.
Well, I look back on those days, and I couldn't have done that without the Holy Spirit. And I think there were things guiding me a long way before I had my eyes shut to it, but they were still there.
I got you. It's called faith, I guess.
Amen.
All right, brother.
Great to hear from you, Randall. Thank you, sir.
You too.
Anyway, this is what happens when Eddie leaves me alone. It's a mix of obnoxious and inappropriate and somewhat profound and heartfelt. If I could toot my own horn. Anyway. Well, not to mention just the boilerplate, like Joey's clearly filling time at this moment. Like this moment, literally right now. Filling time because we had like 30 seconds left. But, oh, look, now we're out of time in happy hour with Greg Budell. And I don't know who's sidekicking with him today. They're next, and I want to thank our studio audience for being here and keeping me company. See, Eddie wasn't here, but I was not alone. Y'all stay tuned. Happy Hour's next.
Broadcasting from the Riverside Chevrolet Master Control Center, this is WACV Cusana, News Talk 93.1 FM.